All right. So excited to talk about one of my absolute favorite topics, which is all about marketing, you guys. And I'm really excited because my name is Kevin Michael Schmitz. I'm a celebrity fashion advertising photographer, TV director, and executive producer of the TV show Great Escapes that airs on NBC. And I'm joined here with some amazing panelists, amazing photographers that we're going to be going in depth one-on-one with some of our photographers live to essentially take their photographic marketing strategies to the highest level of their potential. So on top of that, we're also going to be joined with an amazing photographic expert on marketing named Michael Sterling. So he is like an absolute guru when it comes to marketing photographers at the highest level. And that's literally all he does every day is market photographers. So I'm really excited that you guys get to join and you get to learn about some marketing. And, and just to kind of kick this off, I mean, some of you guys know me really well and have been on, maybe have attended some events with me. Some of you are new, but I'd like to show you kind of some of my marketing reels. This includes my production company reel, which has my photographic content in video form, which I do recommend you guys all do. So I'm going to just showcase a quick little reel to show you kind of some of the stuff that I recommend you guys have in your own showcase, because I find that really, really important to not only have strong photography, but also amazing video.
There will be good times and epic, adrenaline-filled challenges where it seems there's no way you can make it, but you'll find a way.
Love is respect.
And me.
I love them.
Oh,
You're it. You look good today. It's all about what's inside of you.
Doing well and then doing good.
that was fun.
That I'm going to showcase to clients because I think it's really important. Now, if those of you who are, say, into fashion photography, obviously that included kind of a whole realm of different types of photography. But fashion, you're going to want something a little bit specific to fashion photography. If it's travel, you want it all about travel. If you have lifestyle, you want it all about lifestyle. So when it comes to something like that, I want you guys to be very aware of what your audience is going to be seeing, because that's really important to showcase not only great photography and great video, but stuff that's relevant to them. And that's what I want you guys to to realize. I'm going to show you kind of another little marketing piece that we actually filmed at and I'm going to show you a couple of different examples. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because every single photography agent I have spoken to this year, from Simone Friend and Johnson in Chicago to AA reps in New York to JP reps in LA. These are some of the biggest photography agents that represent the top 1/1000th of 1% of photographers. These are the creme de la creme of the people in the industry. And what they're all telling me is we need high-end video content to showcase of your photography. So even if you are doing photography, whether it's fashion or lifestyle or portraiture or weddings or travel or anything, you've got to have a video component to it. And I think that's really critical. And that's what they have all told me. So this is another little bit of video component. few years, I've been really coaching them to develop their own marketing sequences. And I feel like it's really made a difference in taking it to the next level. We're going to explore some of those today. And I think that when it comes down to marketing, we definitely need to have really, really strong branding. That is absolutely critical to have not only great marketing, but really, really strong branding. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of the difference. Now I want to bring on some of our panelists kind of early on here that have done, they're absolute experts in the industry. Now, I have a few people, some photographers like Chad Chisholm. I've got some amazing photographers like Evan Siegel. I've got Charles Benoit. We're going to be going through and talking with you guys directly, and we're going to be also talking about some strategies that I'm going to be working with you personally to maximize your branding and your marketing for 2021. Now, I'd like to bring on Michael Sterling, because Michael Sterling, if you want to go ahead and get ready, Michael, I'd like you to kind of jump on and talk a little bit about what you do for photographers and what you've seen, because Michael, you are literally the expert, and there's only a few of these people out there in the world, and Michael's one of these experts that literally all he does day in and day out is he markets photographers. Like, that's literally his job day in and day out. So I want to work with with you guys and have Michael talk about some of his strategies, what he has seen work, what he has seen that hasn't worked, and kind of where to allocate some of your resources, because that's really important. So Michael, I'd love to hear from you if you want to jump on and tell us a little bit about what you've seen as far as strategizing for, with photographers at the highest level. So there he is. And you're broadcasting from Australia, right?
Yes, I'm in Australia right now. Hi, everybody. Hope you had great holidays and everybody's back to normal. So that's good. Yeah, Kevin, definitely. So, I mean, one of the most important things is just to have really good presence online. And one of the really great channels you can utilize is actually LinkedIn. LinkedIn is fantastic if you want to connect with agents, like Kevin said, who represent some of the top photographers. LinkedIn is also great to connect to brands. LinkedIn is also great to connect to advertising agencies. If you want to talk to art buyers, if you want to talk to producers and agencies, if you want to talk to...
Oh, sorry about that, guys. We just lost him for 1 second there. Michael, let me grab you back here. Sorry about that. What he was talking about, though, before Michael jumps back, is getting on, guys, with using LinkedIn to reach out and connect with decision makers. And if you are in the commercial advertising space, which I am, and I work with Michael on doing this, but reaching out with through LinkedIn to advertising agencies. And I'm going to be contacting creative directors at advertising agencies. I'm going to be contacting marketing directors at in-house direct at corporations, and I'm going to be contacting photo editors at magazines. And to me, it's really important, obviously, to have direct communication, but a lot of times the old world way of communicating, whether it's just basically sending emails and phone calls and mailers and stuff like that, it's not necessarily cutting it anymore. Because what we're seeing is, of course, with this time, during the era of COVID, for instance, people are, they're out of the office, and a lot of people have been hired and fired, and most people are they're gone. So a lot of the people in our audience are not around, but they still have a LinkedIn page. So I want you guys to be aware of that. So even if they're at home, even if they're not even around, I want to make sure that we can still communicate with them. So if we can connect with them on LinkedIn, that has been one of the most effective strategies. Now, in doing so, though, we got to make sure that our LinkedIn page is well branded. And what I mean by that is I want to make sure that our LinkedIn page is going to be something very clean, very high-end, very well adapted to just my brand. Just, for instance, the Kevin Michael Schmidt's photography brand, or my TV directing brand, or what it is that you specialize in and you want to showcase, you want to make it very, very, very specific. Now, I know I talked a little bit about this to Chad Chisholm here. Chad is a world-class photographer, and Chad, he's based in Denver, and I'm going to pull up your website, Chad, but I want you to talk a little bit about, essentially, Chad, what what you have done since meeting with me, because you and I did a one-on-one strategy session where I sat down with you. You came down to LA. We met up and we spent like a solid day just hashing out all aspects of your brand and maximizing a really clean and concise brand that you can see here. And Chad, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about kind of, what has worked for you, what you feel, I don't know, like if you can tell me kind of, you've been landing some jobs lately, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what kind of strategies that you and I talked about for what we're doing in 2021 with that action plan. I'd love to hear, your perspective on that, Jed.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on today, Kevin. I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I really enjoyed, we did a one-on-one session in February of 2020, which all things withstanding, still was a great year, which I was really surprised by. We were able to look at my LinkedIn, get it updated, I created a sizzle reel while in lockdown here in Denver, utilizing a lot of the B-roll that we created through the workshops with Kevin. So absolutely. And I think the marketing and so forth too is creating my action plan with Kevin and really getting that one-on-one. While it's fantastic during the workshops, I really felt I needed something that was more of that one-on-one personal touch, and to go through kind of my market, what I thought I did well and how I could make my portfolio look better and marketing well and updating my LinkedIn. And so Kevin kind of walked me through that entire process together. And, all in all, even through a pandemic, had a really great year.
Excellent. Now you're booking resorts and advertising campaigns. You're doing lifestyle. You're doing food and beverage. That's kind of your specialty. What do you see as kind of like what's going in for 2021 is going to make you the most money, and how are you going to market to those type of clients, Chad?
Sure. So I really brand myself as a hospitality photographer. I'm a Hyatt and Hilton brand approved photographer, which took me several years to get that accreditation, and a lot of hard work and a lot of reaching out and cold calling and making sure that my connections made sense and getting a hold of the decision makers. So I am still focusing on my hospitality, and we just did a presentation 2 days ago for reshooting library images with masks, because a lot of these hotels and resorts do still need to do that marketing imagery, and they don't necessarily have those images. And then a few months ago, I did a destination, same thing. We shot everything with masks and without masks, since they didn't know how long it was going to be that we would continue to need to wear these sorts of things. So you can see it in big brands like Disney or small boutique agencies. It's really across the spectrum. I think there's an opportunity for new content, even in a pandemic.
Definitely. Now, I know some of the projects got put on hold. You and I even were going to be filming, you were going to be photographing, and I was going to work on filming a Xanterra Resort, huge ad campaign out in the desert. And it got put on hold, but you know what? The projects are still coming back. And Chad, I think that, you and I worked on an action plan together, and we did, about a year ago, and we also kind of reworked on it just recently. Are there anything that you find that are like really critical components to that marketing action plan as far as follow-up that works best for you, Chad?
I think it just holds me accountable, and it actually starts to become this really fun game of like, what did I accomplish on my action plan this month? And what do I get to do this month? And I'm looking forward to XYZ, or I get to work on this project because it's going to go out as my Q3 mailer. I think those are the things that get me excited and keep me motivated. And something that really clicked with me from what Kevin had said is kind of using it as a roadmap. And following that roadmap when I'm kind of lost has been really helpful, and just able to kind of move forward even when it's like, nothing's happening and people are getting laid off. And the interesting thing that I've seen in my industry, and as Kevin alluded to, there's a lot of movement in the hospitality industry and in ad agencies. But I'm also seeing, especially here in Denver, we're having a huge influx of people moving here. And there are a lot of boutique agencies and people who've been with large agencies for 12, 15 years, starting their own ventures out of their living rooms. And that's been an opportunity for me to then go back to my action plan and to look through it and say, hey, how can I help here? How can I be an asset? And what can I bring to the table here that makes me valuable to what they're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. Now, Chad, you've attended a series of these photographic workshops with me. You've done Dallas, you've done Miami, you've done, you're going to be coming to Denver coming up. You've done some amazing ones. Now, how do you feel like those images, like in Newport Beach, for instance, right here, has that helped you kind of land campaigns and opportunities and stuff?
Absolutely. It's not only helped me land campaigns, but I feel when I'm going to client presentations, not last year, obviously, but doing online stuff too, is that there's a big reaction to the imagery that I created, not only in your workshops, but the images that I created after your workshops, implementing the things that I learned in them. So I feel that, yeah, absolutely. It not only rounds out my portfolio and helps me kind of move my portfolio forward, but it affects every shoot that I have going forward. And I find myself incorporating those things that I've learned or that I have started to like really push forward on in future shoots as well.
Now, Chad, one of the things that you do that I actually really admire and a lot of photographers don't do is you have a lot of relationships with publicists and PR companies, and you build a lot of relationships with that. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you do it and how that benefits you?
Sure. So I've been a travel contributor with Just Lux for about 10 years now. And it's an affluent lifestyle guide based out of San Diego. And I actually will write articles on luxury sites and services, whether that is spa reviews or property reviews. I actually authored Unique Eats and Eateries of Denver and the Colorado Cocktail Cookbook as well. And it's a great way to start conversations with the PR firms, with the brand ambassadors, with the properties, and to get to start to know marketing people. And one of my clients is the Broadmoor, and it took me 3 years of contributing to their magazine and going down and writing on the property before there was even an opportunity in the marketing department to be introduced to the vice president of marketing. And since then, I've had them as a client for 7 years now. And I do a lot of the marketing imagery, but it took a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance and a lot of time getting to know people. And now they're like family. We call each other on holidays. We check in on each other now through 2020. And it's a really neat way to connect all those dots in what I enjoy creating, and then the people in the industry that I enjoy creating with.
Nice, nice. Now, what kind of things are you going to really focus on this year as far as reach outs? Because I know that, reach outs have kind of changed when you're contacting people through marketing, through emailing or promo mailers or things like that. How are you going to do it? What do you think are going to be the most effective techniques for you this year?
So something that we kind of explored in our one-on-one, and I completely agree, and it is something that I was guilty of myself, is follow-up on everything and multi-tiered and multi-pronged follow-up. So I do have my quarterly mailers set up. I have one of my food mailers that just went out.
Nice.
And these went out to 500 of my food agency people. And then I had a mailer with my lifestyle stuff go out to 2,000 art directors, creative directors, in my region. So Colorado, Texas, California, all over the place. So with that, I then also do email campaigns that are monthly and then phone calls. So I find it's always about that personal connection. And my biggest campaigns, which are for me with large hotels and resorts, the 15-day campaigns are not just handed to somebody that they don't know. So it takes the time to cultivate the relationship and to show them, yes, I know what I'm doing, but not only do I know what I'm doing, but you will enjoy working with me. And so that's something for this year. I'm going back and revisiting a lot of the smaller things that I've done in the past, see how I am able to help or to contribute to their efforts and to move the ball forward on some projects, such as the one that you and I we're planning earlier this year, March 2020. So
absolutely, absolutely. But you know what, Chad, I mean, we're persevering, we're going strong. I mean, I think that there are some benefits to this. I mean, and I want to talk about that just a little bit. I think that, and I want to get back to some of the things that you've been doing, Chad, and some of the stuff we talked about together with an action sequence. But essentially, I feel as though one of the challenges photographers have always run into when, for instance, when we're doing, say, commercial photography, is that we're trying to reach out to these big shot decision makers that are creative directors at ad agencies and art producers at ad agencies, or they're photo editors at magazines. And we're just trying to, work our butts off to try to get in and get these meetings with them, right? I mean, it's not easy. These guys are, everybody's throwing themselves at them. Everybody wants to be in that club, but it's a matter of how many of these people are you allowed to even meet with? Are you going to be able to meet with? And I think that becomes a real challenge, because a lot of times these decision makers, they're so inundated and they're not going to have time for most people, especially to meet up in person, but that's always the best. Obviously, these days, we can't meet in person. But with Zoom has changed the game, you guys. I mean, that's why I love Zoom so much, because up until this era, this past year, people didn't want to get on video calls. I mean, some people did in the corporate structure and stuff, but generally people didn't really like it. They don't, you don't want to get on and FaceTime people. It just isn't something that a lot of people are doing, or until this COVID hit. So now, the great thing about that is it's kind of the standardization. Even now, you guys are all on this webinar. People are on and they're doing webinars. They're getting up and they're meeting people on Zoom. They're doing consults. They're doing meetings. They're doing production meetings. I have been doing so many different production meetings, over the last several months on Zoom. And it makes it easy because we can connect anywhere in the world. And what that means to you is that if you don't live in a major city, if you don't live in Los Angeles or New York or Miami or Chicago, you're not in one of the big markets, especially between LA and New York, and you live in somewhere else. Chad lives in Denver. We have some photographers living out in Kansas or out in Arkansas or whatever. Doesn't matter where you live. You can be on Zoom. You can have a meeting with somebody in New York, at a major ad agency in New York, and you can do it on Zoom. They are doing that these days. So I would strongly encourage you guys to use this technology to your advantage. And we're going to also bring on some panelists to talk about that, as far as, marketing yourself on that, as well as kind of like how to even do it, how you should be perceived. Because remember, you only have one chance for that first impression. So it's got to be strong, right? It's got to be strong. And the same thing goes with your photography, your website, your portfolio, your LinkedIn page, your Instagram, your Facebook, all of that. But then even more important, in person. Now, a guy like Chad is really presentable. Chad is an extremely likable guy. He's friendly. He's kind. You get a great energy when talking to him. Chad's the kind of guy you want to get in front of a client, right? You want Chad's personality to come alive in front of a client. Now, maybe not everybody here has that kind of bubbly personality. Some people a little bit more introverted. I run into this a lot with like food and beverage and product photographers. Hey, if that's the case, that's okay. We can then reach out, utilizing our images, utilizing ideas that we pitch, and then maybe obtain representation, get an agent to represent you, because then they can put their face forward and be the face of your brand. And that's something that if you're going to be marketing, we're going to be talking not just about marketing and gaining new clients, but also marketing and how to obtain representation, marketing and trying to get published in magazines. I've been published in over 180 magazines, and I can show you how to get published. But there's a whole technique of how to market yourself that's going to be really key and important. Now, I want to talk a little bit then, Chad, a little bit further, as far as we put together an action plan, and I want you to just break it down for us, like what you're going to do. I think we did it monthly, and we even talked about some of the techniques weekly, some actual targetable goals that we can do. Like, hey, we're going to say make so many LinkedIn messages on this day. Maybe on every Tuesday, we're going to spend 4 hours making phone calls. Can you talk a little bit about like what your plan is for 2021 that you and I discussed?
Sure, absolutely. And also, I do want to address that we're getting some questions in the Q&A and then some chat questions too. So I definitely want to get to those and have some insights on that as well. But yeah, for the action plan we went ahead and did a monthly and then weekly, as Kevin was mentioning, and really broke it down. And again, it was just really helpful for me to know, hey, on Tuesday, I need to respond to emails. And on Wednesday, I can do some calls and either return phone calls or get in front of people that I've emailed. I personally subscribe to Agency Access. And so that's been a great way for me to go through and find people that I may not know already, in the art directors and creative directors and the decision makers, but also people who are in my area, and even down to the specialty. So if they are doing lifestyle or apparel or food and beverage, or hospitality. And so that has been something that has been helpful for sure. And then as far as how to break it down monthly, Kevin and I visited about our Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, so the quarterly mailers, and how then to not only send them out, but to follow up, and then also with the LinkedIn. So kind of going at it at a several pronged approach so that my name is recognizable. People know who I am. They know what I do. They know my imagery. So when it comes across their desk, they're like, oh my gosh, I got this email that I opened up a couple of weeks ago. This is the guy I've been meaning to call. Let me get on the phone. Or then when I call, it's like, oh yeah, I've got your mailer sitting right here. This is great. Thank you so much. I would say for my open rate, it's about 8%. And a lot of that is people that I don't necessarily know. I still continue to foster my relationships with clients that I already have, and directors and so forth I have a direct and personal relationship with. I think it's very important to stay on top of that as well. And it can't always be just going after the next person or the next company. I think the people that you've already invested the time with are just as important, if not more so, than going after your new client. I think that answered a couple questions. Hopefully.
Yeah, I love it. Now, Chad, let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn, because I know we discussed this. Chad, you've got I want to show a good example. I mean, I really like Chad's LinkedIn here. I think that, and I don't say this very often because I coach a lot of photographers, and that's usually one of the first things that I rip apart. But Chad, I like it because, it's very to the point. It's like, I know you shoot a lot of resort stuff. He's got kind of a long, narrow shot here, or, a nice wide horizontal shot here. Commercial lifestyle photographer. He's got like a little, description about who he is, about who
We've got the sizzle reel link right there.
Yeah. He's got sizzle link. He's got imagery. He's got some of his best content. And yeah, let's look at this little sizzle reel. So he's got some great stuff. And by the way, some of this stuff was all shot actually at our workshops here.
And that's something to go piggyback off of your following up with, Kevin.
Yeah.
People who go to the workshops, utilize the B-roll. Like, it's all shot and you're sitting on it. Go do something with it. So this was something that I had been putting off for a long time, was utilizing all this beautiful B-roll that we created at Kevin's workshop series. And we put it together in this thing. And I get a lot. I send this link direct to current and potential clients, and I get great feedback on it. So I think it's definitely something to incorporate into your business plan. Go ahead and create that B-roll, and you've got to follow up with it though. And that's the big thing. And LinkedIn was something that I very severely underutilized in the past. And just even taking my contacts and cross-referencing, as Kevin showed me how to do, and uploading, doubled my contacts in a day. And it's all creative directors. And then anytime I'm posting, it's showing up on their pages as well. So just another layer of getting my name and my brand in front of the people that I want to be working with anyway.
Right. And Chad, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I gave you this suggestion as a little marketing trick, and it seemed like it worked really well for you.
Oh, it was great. My phone was blowing up all afternoon. It was awesome. So I imported a contact list into LinkedIn, and then it cross-references those email addresses and those names with the contact list that you have, and then says, hey, we found a connect, and then you can just go through and connect or request a friendship. And literally, I sent Kevin the screenshot. My phone literally just was bing, 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 bing. And these were agencies that I had been trying to get a foot in the door, or at least usually I would take them out to coffee, but not in COVID. And it was just one after another. Again, I think there's opportunity here because everyone is at home, because everyone is working from home or trying to get creative. And LinkedIn is this tool that I knew about, but I wasn't utilizing as well as I could have. And it's something that I definitely am now following up with and creating connects with. And I was, I don't even think I visited with Kevin about this. It's when people were accepting my friend request, I was messaging them, thanking them and saying, hey, how can we work together in short, succinct messages? And I have 4 or 5 people that are like, hey, this is what I do. I like your stuff. I have a project coming up in 6 months. Contact me then. It's like, great. That's an actualizable opportunity that now it's on me to follow up on with them, and it's going to result in booked business.
And so, Chad, let me just show everyone on the audience here how we did this little trick. Now, I have a database, and so does Chad, and you guys probably do too. You have a customer database, right? You maybe use agency access or bikini lists, or maybe you just have a list of contacts and stuff like that. Everybody does it differently, but everybody has some sort of contact list. So what we're going to do, and this is my profile, by the way. So this is my profile. So if you want to click and view my profile, it's a solid profile. It's got all the, glitz and glamour of great content. It's got, I've had 581 people just saw my profile. I've appeared in 141 searches. People are looking at that. We've got experience. We've got, all of my production companies, little content about it, video links about it, all of this stuff, just kind of the way Chad does it as well. So I've got a pretty bolstered and solid LinkedIn profile. Now, one thing though that we need to do is we need to actually import all of our leads, right? So we're going to go to my network, and you can go to contacts. I have 12,669 connections. I've got 19,637 contacts, and we can do add more contacts. And then it gives you this awesome opportunity right here. Now you can do it from Gmail, Yahoo. I go to upload a file, and then I get to go and then I select a file. I upload that, and then you used to be able to do like 100,000 at a time. Now I think you can do it in chunks. How many did you do, Chad, that worked for you successfully?
Like 2,000.
Okay, so 2,000. I mean, I know that LinkedIn has changed the rules, and there's like smaller chunks you can do. But I used to do 100,000 at a time, and all of a sudden, like I just get like inundated with connections, people connecting with me, right? And then as soon as they connect with me, now you want to go through and you want to message them all and you want to connect with them. Now, you can do this with a LinkedIn free profile. I also sign up for the premium one, and I do Sales Navigator, but you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to do that. You can just do it straight up. But this is one of the first things I want you guys to do in the new year. Really make your LinkedIn profile super, super strong. That's
something I do like about the upgrade on the LinkedIn with Sales Navigator is that you can create your own lists in there too. So if you didn't want to do something like agency access, which is an expensive program, the LinkedIn Premier is a great way to do that, and also send out reminders to yourself like, hey, I need to follow up with this person. So I really do enjoy that aspect of that program.
Excellent, excellent. And then also, Chad, one of the things you're best at is follow-up. So you can talk a little bit about your follow-up process and what you do with following up with decision makers to actually get them to work with you and book you.
Right. And sometimes it takes years, and I'm not joking. And it's just one of those things that patience is key, and following up and being persistent, but also not getting to the point where you're bothering people. If they say, hey, contact me in 6 months, make a note, set a reminder, do something, and then follow up with them. I get that with publishers all the time that, hey, we're not doing anything currently. We've got our big season is coming up, down the road, or with magazines and so forth. They're like, hey, we're going to press right now. Please, we like what you're doing, but please contact us at another time. So I think it's really key to be persistent, but not overly, if someone tells you they don't want to hear from you for another month, don't email them the next week. And then I think it's really important for it to be very personal. Go look at their website, know what they do, go to their LinkedIn, see where they were before this job. Don't misspell names. If I get another email, dear Chris, it's like, you don't know me and you don't have enough time to even look up my name, that is Chad. So I think that those are very important things. I was a leasing consultant and realtor and got a lot of training in marketing and sales through those opportunities. And those were like the top things. No names, like if you can reach out to someone or make a personal connect, if you're in the same fraternity or same sorority, there's so many ways to kind of create that personal connect. And that just takes a little bit of homework on your end and being prepared for when you do have their ear, that you know what you're talking about and you have all of these tools at your disposal.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Chad. I really appreciate it. And I feel like you're really going to catapult this year. I mean, you're already extremely talented and successful, but Chad, you're on another level now. You've built this epic body of work that you and I have worked together to create stunning content at these photographic workshops. And it just, when you go to the website, I go to Chad's website and it's a lifestyle advertising website. And to me, I get wowed and dazzled when I come to this website. And this was, content that he shot at our workshop. So it's really, really awesome. But also, Chad, you also invest. You invest in your marketing. You invest in developing your portfolio with attending workshops. You invest in promotional material like printers and mailers, email broadcast systems and stuff like that. Per year, what is like kind of your average investment for all of that combined?
I'd have to look, and this year's skewed everything, but I mean, it's tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, between the marketing, the mailers and the subscriptions, also doing client gifts at the end of the year. We did a lot of lunches, a lot of presentations, flying to cities and setting up desk sides. So it definitely adds up, but it's like in real estate. If you're going to sell a $5 million house, you got to spend $30,000, $40,000 on marketing. I mean, it's really no different for photographers, I feel. And that's everything from, when you're meeting in person, this was more applicable, but presenting yourself well. For me, since I work with hotels, having a nice car that's going to be in the valet. So when they're meeting me in the porte cochere, that they're like, oh, this guy's serious. And he understands what our brand is. So I think it's a multi-functional branding. And you've got to invest in the marketing, and whether that's spending $3,000 on a website for the design, or if that's getting the real premium paper for your cards. For what I do with the luxury sites and services, that's expected. It's something that needs to happen, and I can't really cheap out on things. And like you were saying, getting in front of people is how I end up sealing the deal. So it's one of those. Hey, I remember I brought cupcakes with marzipan tomatoes on top of it, because that was what the company logo was. They talked about it for 3 months, these little mini cupcakes. So, I mean, it's just things like that. It's the small touches. It's getting creative. We're all creative people. So kind of dip into that and be creative for yourself and of yourself.
I love that. See, that's really smart, Chad. And that's something like giving them presents, giving them gifts that they take away that they're interested in. I've seen all kinds of creative versions of that, but I think it's great, especially any of your premium clients, which is something that, I want to talk a little bit about that too, because guys, one of the biggest problems that photographers do, portrait clients, I see this all the time, is the 80-20 rule. Okay. If you guys aren't familiar with this, what this means is that 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your clients. And this is across the board, any industry, literally any industry. This is like a rule of thumb. You can look it up, 80-20 rule, right? So 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. 80% of your problems, your problematic customers, 80% of your problems are ones that, they don't want to pay you, they complain, they're difficult to deal with, they're a pain in the ass. You know what I'm talking about. 80% of those clients, 80% of your problems come from 20% of your clients, and those are the nasty 20%. So you've got your premium 20% that bring in 80% of your revenue. You've got the 80% of your problems come from 20% of your clients. Usually they never overlap. Once in a while they do, and that's when you're going to have to make a judgment call. But most of the time, in my experience, they don't overlap. So what I would strongly suggest is that we start to adjust our marketing. We're going to now be very targeted with our marketing, or we're going to start marketing to the 20% of our clients that generate 80% of our revenue. We want to find who that client is. We want to typecast them. We want to find who they are. If you are a portrait photographer and you want to earn more money as a portrait photographer, maybe look for those portrait clients that, they're paying you $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 for portrait packages that they buy. They're not going to be doing the bottom of the barrel package, and we want to replicate that. So look for what is the demographic, what is their age range, where do they live, are they in a wealthy area, community, and if they are, maybe we should target that audience. And the people that are, always, just being difficult on price, and they're always trying to wheel and deal you and stuff like that, and they don't want to pay or not make payments, weed them out. And the best way to weed them out without losing clients like crazy is to charge more. So if you have a client that you really don't like, instead of saying, you know what, forget you, I never want to talk to you again, just charge more money. If you were charging, say, $500 for a portrait package or something like that, charge $1,500. If you were charging $2,500 for weddings, charge $10,000. And you should be doing that anyway. But immediately you can weed out the difficult clients. And if they really want to work with you, then they're going to have to pony up and pay you more. And that's what I would suggest. Because guys, you're going to be taken advantage of in all areas over and over again as photographers, because everybody thinks, oh, photography, it's fun. Everybody does photography. It's a creative art. We shouldn't pay for it. So everyone's going to try to screw you. And it's in all aspects of photography. So we need to make sure that we go to the clients that are going to value you, that they're going to value your talent, your creativity, what you bring to the table, and they're going to invest properly in quality content. You don't want to be in a race to the bottom. That's really, really important. And I would strongly encourage guys that I want to make sure that you guys all just target very specific audiences that are going to bring in all of your money. So I think Chad does a good job of that. I think he's targeting people very specifically, but a lot of photographers that I talk to, they don't. They are completely amiss. Now, what I do want to tell you guys is that I've worked with Chad and I've done a one-on-one with him, but I've also done some, marketing sessions, and, just him and I. I've also done it with Nick Seth-Smith, who's on right now. I've also done it with Charles Benoit. We've talked about some of his business strategy plan and marketing. And what's really cool is we're giving away free marketing strategy meetings where you can have a full strategy session on your marketing for 2020. And we are teaming you up with our professional photographic marketing consultants. And I would strongly encourage you guys to click on the link in the chat and go ahead and set up a free photographic marketing strategy session. This is something that I just did with Chad the other day. I'm going to be doing it with Nick Seth-Smith here, who's going to be our next panelist I want to talk to. And I've been doing these quite a bit. And our photographic consultants, from Priscilla Evans to Daniel Rothschild, to Sean Ashanti. I mean, they are absolute geniuses when it comes to marketing and strategizing going forward. I've trained them all to be absolute masters, and some of them actually have some special techniques and experiences. Like, for instance, Sean is also an expert in video production because he comes from a whole career in video production. He's based in New York. Priscilla is from Australia, and she's an expert also in production coordination and also in marketing. And Daniel Rothschild also is really a genius when it comes to kind of working with photographers to maximize the amount of revenue that they're bringing in. And he also comes with a lot of really innovative ideas. So I want you guys to click on that link in the chat, set up a marketing strategy session that we're offering for free. And I encourage you guys to jump on, because I think that it's really helped a lot of our photographers, and we've seen massive success come from that. Extremely important. Also, I encourage you guys to talk about and think about, what is your budget? Now, in the poll right now, if you've answered it already, please answer it. What is your budget for marketing, education, portfolio development each year? Now, Chad mentioned it was tens of thousands of dollars. For me, it's about $80,000. That's what I spend. Now, of course, I'm landing big campaigns. I have some big stuff that I'm doing, but it's all relative. But even if you're not landing huge amounts of jobs just yet, we need to at least fake it till you make it, and at least showcase that it looks like you're the biggest badass photographer around, and market yourself. Now, I recommend every photographer spend at least 10 to 20,000 a year on this, and I would say that's the bare minimum. Because remember, if we are running a business, and I don't care any business, and I mean it could be a tech company, it could be an oil company, you could be a doctor's office, a pharmacy, a grocery store. Literally any business in the world has investment, capital investment in some way. It has some sort of capital investment. So why, right now, I'm on here and I'm actually looking at the poll results come in, and I'm seeing, there's about a quarter of you that are saying about, that you invest at least $5,000 in your marketing and your portfolio development and workshop enrollment and stuff like that per year. But I also see about a quarter of you that don't invest in yourself at all. And what I want to ask you is why? Why would you think ever that you could succeed in a business without investing in a business? That makes no sense. It's not logical. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And it doesn't occur in any other sector in the world in business to not invest anything and just make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. It's just not possible. There has to be some capital investment somewhere. Now, what most of our photographers do, what do? They piss it away on equipment. They piss it away on studios that they don't use. They piss it away on things that are just costs or employees. It's just cost. We want to invest in our marketing. We want to invest in our portfolio. And I would say the best way to do that is definitely do what Chad and Nick and Hans and Charles Benoit and all these photographers that are on right now. We have massive audience. You guys have invested in your portfolio and it's maximized your return. And that's what we're looking for, is maximizing return. But if you don't, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen. If you're a doctor's office and you don't have any equipment and you don't have all of the things that you need to be a doctor, you can't be a doctor. You have to have the equipment. You have to be able to market yourself to get enough patients. It's the same thing in photography. You've got to market yourself to get customers. It's absolutely critical. And unless you're somebody like Chad, now Chad, you have a studio that is a commercial studio that you rent out for huge campaigns, and that's mostly what it's used for. You make money on that studio, and isn't that right, Chad? Oh, you're set on mute. If you want to unmute yourself, yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, no, that's one of our several income streams that we utilize. So yeah, I rent out my studio. Surprisingly, we typically rent it out like 40 days a year to other productions. And last year we did 52 days. So there's absolutely ways to make these things happen and
That's
work for you.
And you know what, Chad? You're the only type of person that I recommend having a studio. Everyone else, if you don't rent out your studio,
come rent from me. Yeah.
come rent from Chad. And you know why? It's because you can bill your client. Their client is going to pay Chad directly. So it's not going to cost you anything, but whatever you do, don't get overhead. That's the worst thing you can do as a photographer, especially in this day and age, because we don't know. It's an unpredictable world out there. I don't have a studio. I never have my whole life, and I never will under any circumstance. And if I ever did, it would have been specifically to make a margin. That would have been the only reason. The absolute only reason is to make money off of it the way that Chad is. And Chad's smart. Chad's a smart guy, and he's doing it only for making money. But if you guys think you need one to be a successful photographer, you're wrong. Don't waste money on studios. Don't waste money on equipment. Don't spend it on cameras and lenses and lighting. Only spend it after you've booked the jobs and the clients are essentially paying you. That's the only time when they can basically, you book a job. For instance, if I book a job for Pepsi and it's a $177,000 campaign, we have like a $15,000 budget for equipment. Use that budget to buy equipment and rent it yourself. But any other circumstance, it's not necessary. It's completely ridiculous to do that.
Kevin, I do want to mention, you helped me on my one-on-one go through some of my previous shoots. Yes. And we went through line by line, and you do this at the workshops as well, kind of going through and so forth. And from my one-on-one to my next shoot, I doubled what I was charging. Wow. So it paid for itself. Obviously, the consultation paid for itself, but not only did it pay for itself in one shoot, but it paid for itself for every shoot going forward, because I wasn't pricing things as I should have been. And we restructured things, and it was really, really helpful. So I do want to mention that. And it was using other people's equipment or renting my own equipment back to the client and getting paid for it. All those small things made such a huge difference in my year, essentially. And I think it's invaluable information to have for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm proud of you, Chad, because you've taken it up to another level. But you also do the work, and you actually do the actions. Now, Nick Seth Smith, I want you to jump on, and I see Nick. You also have an incredible background there. I see you've got an unbelievable image that you photographed at the Elite Masterclass in LA. You also attended the New York workshop, and I know you're coming to 2 of the upcoming workshops in 2021. But Chad, I'm sorry, Nick, talk to me about kind of what you see as some of your. We got to unmute. We got to unmute you. Give me 1 second. So Nick, what I want to know from you is you just created some of the greatest the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime. And can you talk a little bit about what you feel like you need in your marketing for 2021 to achieve your goals?
Sure. I think you've just been listing it actually just over the last 15, 20 minutes. But I mean, I've started off, as you said, investing in imagery, and I've just kicked off a project to completely rebuild my website, rebuild my brand, start with a new logo, and really clean it up and focus on my target market, which is going to be fashion and lifestyle advertising, all the stuff that we've talked about. And that's going to take a little while, but that's very much of a focus. My brand was really geared towards family portraits and so on, and I think it's a big step up. But actually, one thing I wanted to comment, I put some of the images, including this particular one, up on my website, and that landed me a wedding on the 20th of December, which is looking like it's going to pan out to be about a $10,000 wedding.
Congratulations! Nick, I love it. I love it so much.
To the clients yesterday, and I got a message back from Adam saying you crushed it, and I had a call from Anna, and she was almost in tears. She loved them so much, so she was really excited. A lot of what I shot was driven in part by some of the stuff that we did, and it's changed my photography style a little bit. Subtlety. I mean, it's still me, but I've added some stuff in that we did in the workshops into that, and it really helps. So that's exciting.
See that is a direct correlation, and I love that to hear. Hey, I just shot the greatest images of my life, and he just attended 2 workshops, and then boom, he's booked a $10,000 wedding like that, and then and also Nick, didn't you also you had a client that also needed some amazing stylists there, and you're able to book some of the stylists.
Exactly. So I brought Stacey along, who absolutely knocked the ball out of the park. I mean, I knew she was good, but and she did an amazing job with Anna, but she also touched up Adam, the groom, and then their son, Ricardo, Adam's son, Ricardo. And Ricardo was, I was actually looking back at the images afterwards, and I hadn't realized just how much acne he had. I mean, he's a 14-year-old kid, so he's got bad skin. In the photographs, you would not know it. She did such an amazing job that his skin looked completely natural. It didn't look made up, and yet it looked like he had perfect skin. When I look back at the work she was doing at the beginning, I took one shot when they were getting ready. She said, "Look, don't shoot that. He won't want to see that." And the transformation was amazing. So the context that you get from the workshops as well are just amazing. And she was an absolute sweetheart. Stacey was amazing. The other one that I referred was a florist, a very good florist friend of mine, who is phenomenal. And the couple, they just bought a beautiful home in Beverly Hills. They decided that they wanted a winter wedding, and Beverly Hills and winter don't really go together. So they built a complete winter wasteland, a winter wonderland in their backyard. 30 Christmas trees, snow machines, the whole bit. It was just incredible. So the whole day was a phenomenal production, and a lot of that came from, as I say, the inspiration that I got from your workshop. So thank you.
Well, Nick, the biggest thing that I saw was a complete shift in the way you art direct the scene. The big shift in the way that you tell a story, the big shift in the way, and this is your storytelling. I mean, you took this, like this image right here, the one that I'm madly in love with. This is your baby. You came up and actually created the sequence. You allowed it to unfold, and then you captured the sequence. And this is all you, and you got your camera all wet doing it.
Yes, I did. But this is why we use weather sealed cameras.
But this is one of these, to me, this is what we call icon. You created an iconic image, and this image just booked you a $10,000 opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it's just the beginning, because you as a photographer, and I know you do a lot of consumer stuff, and a lot of you guys out there are portrait and consumer photographers. How are you going to, Nick, use these images, these world-class high-end fashion images, to kind of like further that consumer market?
Well, the first step is working together with you to try and get this published so that we get some visibility. Because I think it's not just for my work, but it's the work that happens at the workshops is incredible, and this is a great opportunity. That obviously will help me because it's something I can talk to my consumers. And the big thing is that I think it changes the perception. It takes you away from being the photographer down the street who takes nice pictures to somebody who does who does something that's different and highly specialized, and that puts a zero on the end of the price. And I think that's really the biggest difference. Is it allows me to go after a different clientele, not necessarily a wealthier clientele, but a clientele that's more discerning and that really appreciates what we do. Which means that not only can I charge more, but I can spend more time with them to capture images that tell their story and not just capture what they look like. And that's been my philosophy. The workshop was a really big help in getting me to be able to action what I wanted to do, and it's paying out so far. It's looking really exciting. It's only 6 days into 2020 and 2021. And this is looking like it's going to be a much better year than last year.
I'm excited. So can you talk a little bit about kind of what on a monthly basis, are you going to be sending promo pieces out? Are you going to be sending emails out? Like what does that look like, for you, Nick,
sure.
Going forward?
Well, so the starting point obviously is revamping the website and getting a brand, which will then immediately follow into a campaign to everybody whose email I've got saying, relaunching, this is a new brand, new shiny me, this is what we're doing. And that's the starting point, which will then lead into a series of follow-ups. I'm definitely going to look at doing some flyers to some of my higher-end clients, printed flyers. I'm definitely going to leverage my photographic printing and produce pieces that allow me to show what I do in person when we can meet in person, and also that I can send out high-end photographic prints. I have the advantage that because I produce them myself, I can do that more cost effectively than most people. So that when
you're also a master printer too.
Yes, I am.
You also are a master printer. So you printed your entire portfolio yourself.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. I've got something to show you that will blow your mind, but we'll wait until you see that one. But
I can't wait.
It's coming together, and I'm working with Brian to produce one for him as well. But the big thing is that if I can put my prints in somebody's hands, then they see a print that has detail and depth and clarity that they've probably never seen before. That beyond capturing amazing images and telling the story, that ultimately is the most important expression of personal photography, whether it be weddings, whether it be families. The thing that tells the story, the thing that makes the difference, is the picture that you hang up on the wall, you put on the mantelpiece, you put beside the bed, that you see every day. You don't look at it every day, but if someone moves it, you know immediately, because it becomes part of your life, and it gives you a grounding and a connection and a foundation to the people that you love and so on. So I think that's really critical. That same storytelling applies to everything that we do, and it's all about capturing it. So everything I do is going to be geared towards that. Going forwards, I'm just implementing a new CRM because my old one was really a disaster, and so I've got a ton of work to do in terms of getting set up. But it's going to be following the sort of philosophy of doing 6 things 1,000 times as opposed to 1,000 things 6 times. Just rinse and repeat and do the same thing over and again. But Chad made a couple of very important comments there, which is, be persistent, but don't be a pest. And I really, really appreciate that comment.
Yeah. Now, Nick, have you also increased your pricing yet in your photography?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of revamping that. But yes, absolutely. What I'm doing is pushing up the cost of my prints and pushing up my hourly rate. I'm not necessarily going to push up my session fee, but the other thing is I'm going to switch from a session fee being, including all the digitals, to being the session fee is just a session fee, and then that everything else comes on top of that. So that's a shift towards, structuring what I deliver differently. But yes, I'll definitely be pushing up my, my rates. And as I start to do more commercial work, establishing what those rates should be. Because I've done a little bit of that, as you know, but not a lot, and that's a growth area for me. So then it's going to be establishing what's an appropriate rate, for the quality work that I do and who I am.
Excellent. So Nick, what did you feel like? I mean, because we talk about branding and stuff like that. Do you feel like this kind of takes your branding to the next level with your photography?
Absolutely, and it was hearing. I didn't believe that until I heard the reaction from clients, and the wedding that I shot on, as I say, on the 20th, came from a referral from someone who I met at a party and who sells pianos, and his wife knows the groom, and referred her to, and she knew that he was looking for photographers, so they pointed them in my website. And their immediate reaction when they called me was, we want to meet with you. We want to see to talk to you about shooting a wedding because we love what you do. Within a very short space of time, the whole thing was organized really quickly, but it was that imagery and that photographic. I forget the term that you used for
photographic currency.
Currency, thank you. Yeah, photographic currency was absolutely invaluable, and that I think was that was the genesis of the relationship. Beyond that, then it's going in being credible, being honest and direct, but also being appropriate. I mean, and if you're going to someone's $9 million home in Beverly Hills and telling them you shoot a wedding for $500, you have no credibility. Yes. So the pricing was appropriate to the client and appropriate to the content, and they so far they're really happy, and I intend to continue to keep them that way.
I love it. That's such an incredible story, and your work is just absolutely mind blowing. I mean, we look at this content that Nick created. It's really special. It's just beautiful. It's just beautifully executed, high level production. This was all shot at our Elite Masterclass in Los Angeles, by the way, that we just did in October. And it was over the course of 4 days. We shot with parachutes over the water. We had a 30,000 square foot water studio that you could raise and lower the level of the water. We shot with horses. We shot with horses and parachutes. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And then the supermodels from Vogue and Vanity Fair, and it was epic. So this kind of content obviously takes it to the next level. And then we also shot in New York, where we had some of these models from the Versace campaign. We had some from the Giorgio Armani campaign, these girls. We had girls from Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar, and that was pretty spectacular. So it gives that almost fairy tale wedding kind of feel that clients are going to be just dying for. That and you can also market to the fashion and commercial market now, which is pretty spectacular.
Just while you went past one image there, I just wanted to mention briefly, because it was one that we talked about quite a lot. The girl in the yellow dress. If you want to go to that,
sure.
That was an interesting one. That was a tough shoot because she was at the top of the stairs and it was a very narrow staircase. And I think what I did differently, and it was. I forget the comment you made, but you made a comment sort of something to the effect of, you need to tell the story. And so I just immediately thought about it. And I mean, I'm not young, but I climbed up on top of the balustrade. So I'm poised up on there doing a Hail Mary. But that shot had to be shot at her eye level. So it was really climbing up. And I don't think I would have done that going forward, beforehand. So that was definitely a change. But I think it helped to tell the story and capture the moment.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's breathtaking. It's a fantastic image. Nick, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how far you've come, and you've prepared yourself for 2021, and then you're coming to a couple of upcoming epic workshops. Which ones are you planning on coming to this year that you're enrolled in?
Newport Beach in Miami.
Newport Beach in Miami. Newport Beach is going to be all on resort lifestyle advertising. Miami is lifestyle, also with swim. So that's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Also, guys, we are going to be bringing on our great Michael Sterling again. So I know he dropped out earlier, but Michael, hopefully you're back. So there he is. But Nick, thank you so much. I mean, you were absolutely, you're such an inspiration for us all, because when we get to see images like yours, I get wowed and dazzled. I feel like, I like to showcase our imagery from our workshops and stuff like that. And just like the ones I showed Chad earlier that just wowed and dazzled me, these fashion images, my jaw hits the floor. They're literally straight out of French Vogue. And when I get to see your content that you created, by far the greatest images you've ever shot in your life, and it's already paying off financially. That's what I like to see. I mean, it's like, I'm so proud of you, Nick.
Thank you.
And you have such a great energy on set. All right. So Michael, I'd love for you to jump on and talk a little bit about some of your marketing strategies and stuff like that, about what essentially photographers can do on LinkedIn. Also maybe mention some Facebook and Instagram. And also, meanwhile, guys, before I might bring Michael on, I want to let you know that, we've done, during COVID, we did 5 epic photographic workshops, 4-day experiences from Newport Beach to we shot in Chicago. We did a whole vintage Mad Men story. We did one in New York. at a castle designed to be identical to King Henry VIII's palace from the 1500s. We did one in Los Angeles at that water studio, and then we did an epic workshop at in Miami Beach, and it was mind blowing. So you know, these guys got to, like Nick got to attend that, and we've got some epic experiences coming up. But there's one workshop that's not on here that I am releasing today, and it's going to be a marketing for photographers workshop. Now, we did this once before. We did it in 2020 during the midst of COVID, and it was a huge success. Our photographers were able to do it remotely, virtually. I know if you're scared of COVID and stuff like that, it was a great opportunity to sign up and just do something remotely from somewhere else in you know, in the world, and be able to just tune in. And it's just like a 6-hour intensive on the marketing of photographers. So it's very, very in depth. We're going to take the some of the concepts and strategies we're talking about today, and we're going to be giving them to you. We're going to be coaching you, and we're also going to, and it'll also include like a dedicated marketing plan and strategy plan that we'll work with each and every one of you to develop. And we're going to also hold you accountable to make sure that you achieve it. So if you guys are interested in attending that, it's in our normal workshops. They're around $98.90 for a workshop. So it's an investment, you know. But the virtual marketing for photographers workshop, it's only $12.95. And because you guys are on this webinar right now, we're going to give you guys a special discount for anyone on this webinar now. It's only $9.95. So you're actually getting it for a $300 discount if you guys do enroll today. So I'm going to put that link on here if you guys do want to do it. It's going to be on February 27th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be an absolutely epic marketing for photographers workshop. So it's going to be an intensive. It's all going to be via Zoom. It's going to be virtually. And we're going to go in depth on all different strategies of Facebook marketing, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, maximizing email broadcasting, your printed promo pieces, maximizing your brand and achieving that brand, and then be able to market each and every brand that we develop with you to your audience, and then targeting that very, very specific audience so that we can maximize more. Essentially, we want you to make more money and earn more per shoot and work less. That's essentially the end goal. So if you guys are interested in that, that's something that you know, we're going to be offering right now, and it's a tight knit workshop. I think we only had, like, I don't know, 15 photographers that we let in for the last one. So it was a very tight knit and incredible, very one-on-one experience. And the great Michael Sterling is going to be attending as one of our experts on there too. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and click in the link in the chat, and you can go ahead and sign up. If you guys sign up today, you get that $300 discount off. It's only $9.95. Anyway, so Michael, I'd love for you to talk a little bit, because I've worked with you for years now. I mean, gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years now that I've worked with you, and I have also seen the kind of success that you've been able to accomplish with your other clients, but you market photographers very specifically. Can you talk about kind of what you've seen has really worked, and kind of what that looks like as far as a step-by-step process to market to your audience?
Yeah, definitely, Kevin. Great. So number one, we always want to make sure that we are very presentable on LinkedIn. So with you, for example, and Chad, you were showing as well, you made sure that your LinkedIn profile looks very clean. It's very sharp. You've got your portfolio pieces on there. You've got the reel. You've got any other work that you can showcase. So that's always number one. Just make sure that your profile looks very clean, very presentable. You've got nice background on there. That's very important. Then number two is we always think about our targets and who we want to talk to. So do you want to work with more brands directly? Do you want to work with advertising agencies, or are you looking for a rep or an agent? So it's important to determine who you want to talk to and how you can find them on LinkedIn or somewhere else. So let's say if you wanted to work with more, you know, if you wanted to shoot more campaigns for agencies, I would probably go after somebody like a creative director or an art buyer in an agency that's big and they've got great clients. So number two is always define your target. And then number three is just find a way to reach them. So for example, if you're going after, you know, somebody in a brand or an agency, LinkedIn is a great place to go and connect with them. Just like everybody is doing here, Chad and Kevin as well, we're doing it for him, where we connect him to advertising agencies or brands or reps or event planners that he wants to connect with to do more campaigns for, and reach out to them with something personal. I think a lot of the people try to go and just reach out to people with some kind of blanket messaging or just copy paste the message. And one thing that I recommend is look up their website if you can. So with a lot of creative directors, and I think Chad mentioned this as well, you can actually look up. So let's say they work for like BBDO or somebody like that, some agency like that. What you could do is you could go to their LinkedIn and you could find their personal website that they have all their work on, that they actually worked on, and then go check out what pieces they did, and then go and when you connect with them, just compliment one of the work pieces that they did. This will help you kind of separate yourself from all of that sea of people who are reaching out to them with that blanket messaging saying all the same things, and you just want to come out as like personal and just be short, brief, and personal with them. And your goal should be with all of these reach outs on LinkedIn, email, mailers, it should be just to schedule a meeting with them. And when you come in the meeting, then that's when you start to establish a connection with them. You know, you want to stand out in the meeting, be prepared, look at their work, and see where you can bring some value.
Excellent, excellent. So I know that like you personally have actually marketed people for me on LinkedIn, as well as dozens of people that I've referred over to you that you've had great success. What is the step-by-step process as far as like, I generally send you like kind of a thread of what to say. What does that thread look like when, say, contacting people at advertising agencies, like creative directors and art producers? What does that thread look like typically that you've seen as far as good success rate?
You mean like the actual messages to send?
Exactly. Yep.
Yep. So I think the components in the message, I usually look at it as like 3 components. So number 1 is some kind of personalized piece. So that could be a compliment you could give them about the work that they've done, maybe something about the agency. Maybe they're from a brand and their brand just received some crazy award or something like that, and you found some information about that. So number 1 is always something personal, so that they can see that this is not just spam. This is actually you did your homework. You went and you looked at their work or what they're doing. So that's number 1. Then number 2 is just have a small pitch about what you guys are doing, how you could help them, and include a link to your work if you can. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is just have a call to action to talk to them. So it could be something like, would you be open to a quick chat about how we could potentially work together in the next couple of weeks? And so if you combine those 3, again, being personal, so something personalized to each person or to the company. Number 2, just quick pitch and link to portfolio. And number 3, call to action. And you should be pretty successful. And then another thing that we have to mention is the follow-up. If you don't follow up, you will not have much success with reaching out to people, landing jobs after you have meetings with them. Follow-up is just crucial. So let's say they don't reply to your first email that you sent to them. They might reply to the second one or the third one or the fourth one. These people are really busy, and you need to make sure that you follow up with them consistently. Obviously, don't send them like 5 emails a day or something like that. Leave maybe like a couple of days or a week between each piece of communication that you're sending to them. So let's say on Monday, first week, you send them 1 email. Then, on Friday, you just followed up on that email. Maybe next week, you followed up with them on LinkedIn to see if they saw your message. So don't be too much of a pest, but also understand that those people might have seen your message, and just make sure to follow up with them. And then after you have a meeting with them, if you don't have proper follow-up in place, and if you don't stay omnipresent with them after the meeting, chances that you're going to land work slim. So follow-up is absolutely crucial after you have meetings with them. So send them a mailer. Make sure, let's say you've spoken to a creative director in BBDO, and in BBDO New York or something like that. Go and try to find their colleagues that know the person that you've spoken to, and go at them on LinkedIn and say that you just had a call last week with their colleague Adam Smith, who works in their team or something like that. Add those people, and then you can kind of start getting in with more and more people. So let's say you talk to one person in BBDO, then you can go and reach out to 30 other people who work there and say that you already have chatted with this person, and then maybe you can chat with more of them, and you can kind of find your way in. You just need one person to talk to you, and then you can add more people. That could really work well as well. But follow-up is crucial. If there's no follow-up, the results are going to be very slim.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that as the follow-up because, you know, Michael, we've had this conversation many times, and you do such an incredible job of like producing all these incredible leads, all this contact, messaging going back and forth, back and forth. You got them on the hook. You're on LinkedIn, and you're directly communicating with them. And by the way, one thing Michael didn't mention is when you guys email people, like an email broadcast, I personally send out close to 2 million emails a month. And when I send a lot of them are either don't get open or they go into junk mail. But when you're messaging on LinkedIn, those aren't going to junk mail. Those are going into their inbox. So the response rate is massive. Like our response rate on LinkedIn, I mean, it's several times what it is on email, many times more. So I've had a much better success rate on LinkedIn, especially now when like there's so much high turnover in the industry. It's so fantastic because they're sitting at home, and they're in front of their computer. They may or may not be at that same role anymore, but they still have LinkedIn, so they're being messaged. And that way they're communicating back. So I love it. And what Michael's talking about is follow-up. So once he sets up leads through LinkedIn, you got to contact them. You got to set up an appointment. I would set up a Zoom call. I would set up a phone call. I would call them. I would do something to set up, and then eventually, of course, you'd like to meet them in person. But like Chad Chisel mentioned earlier, is like the relationships are huge. They're not going to book you on a 15-day campaign if they've never met you before. You know what I mean? But now they can meet you on Zoom. So it kind of, it's a really nice way to connect. So Michael, can you talk a little bit about maybe marketing on Facebook and kind of what you've seen on that front, and what would be a good strategy to market on Facebook?
Yeah, definitely. But before I do that, I just remember one quick story. We were actually marketing this creative company, and they want to work with more advertising agencies. And what happened is we reached out to this person who was like a creative director in a really big advertising agency that is called George P. Johnson. They're out of Boston and West Coast as well. And what happened is we reached out to one person, set up a meeting with them, and what she did, and she's passed it on to her assistant, and then assistant added like 15 other producers and creative directors that they have on the team. They had a meeting, a Zoom meeting. They're based in LA, but most of the people are joining from Boston, Massachusetts. And they had a meeting with like 15 creative directors on there. And all of these creative directors now know about this creative company that we were working with. They know what they do. They're going to consider them for projects, but it would have never happened if we didn't reach out to these people, didn't set up a meeting with this person. And then, it happened that she passed on the information, everybody else joined. But if you don't reach out to people, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? So you definitely should do that. And then in terms of Facebook and Instagram, I think it really depends on who you're targeting. So I would always think about like, who's the person that you want to talk to and where can you reach them? So if you can reach them on Instagram, that's great. If Instagram has a lot of, lifestyle brands or like fashion brands or beauty brands that you could reach out to there. You could market on your profile there. Facebook, it really depends on who you're trying to go after again. But I would look into like who your target market is and where you can find them. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram or email? Like where can you find them? And then go after them. Because let's say that we want to talk to like, I don't know, like a marketing director in some kind of brand, or like a creative director in the brand. Well, they might not be on Facebook, but they're going to be on LinkedIn, or they might not be on LinkedIn, but they're going to be on Instagram. So I would really look into where they are, how you can reach them, because it's all about like finding these pools, lead pools where you can reach them, and then going after them there, and scheduling the meeting, doing the same thing, and going after them.
Excellent. I mean, that's some brilliant advice. I love it. Okay, so we have a few questions from the audience that I want to ask you, Michael. One is opinions on, this is from an anonymous attendee, opinions on about LinkedIn Pro Finder, whether they like it or not like it. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it could work. That's not generally what we do. What I recommend is actually, going after like picking targets yourself and then going after them. And what I do recommend getting is the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I think Chad mentioned that as well, where you can, set up your list, and then you can save the list, and then you can set up even reminders to follow up on those lists for yourself. So I highly recommend. In fact, if you don't have a LinkedIn Premium, you don't have to get the highest one, which is the Sales Navigator. But if you don't have a LinkedIn Premium and you just have a free account, what's going to happen is if you do a lot of things on LinkedIn and you add a lot of people and you search out for a lot of people, they will limit you pretty quickly, because LinkedIn, unfortunately, wants to make money, and they want people to pay for these premium accounts, which are not super expensive. They're like 50 or $100 a month. They're not crazy expensive. But if you are going to be serious, if you're going to be reaching out to a lot of people, go and get yourself a premium account. And then if you do want to go and really be serious about it, then I would recommend the Sales Navigator one, because you can go and you can specifically sort out who you want to reach out to and find them and set up these reminders that Chad talked about. So it's like a great tool, and that could actually be, sometimes it could even be better than agency access. I mean, agency access is great because it gives you a lot of information. You can send these newsletters and all of that stuff, but you could also find these people on LinkedIn. You can go and look up information about them, and then you can use some other methods to find their email. What I also recommend is going and emailing them directly. So similar to the LinkedIn message, 3 steps, personalization, a little pitch with your portfolio, and just asking them for a meeting. If you do that, that would be great as well, along with your newsletters that you're doing through agency access or somewhere else. Just reaching out to these people directly, which is why when, you send an email to them and it's just like a one-off email to them, and then you follow up on that as well. That could work really well. But yeah, and then I think there was another question about the profile that I actually saw. Somebody was saying, can you set up a profile with the company page? I was going to mention that unfortunately, LinkedIn has a policy where you can't set up a profile when you can't your name as a company name, and you can only set up yourself as like a personal account and message people from that personal account. It is against their policies to go and create an account and say like first name XYZ, last name pictures. Like at some point they will limit you, or they will ask for ID. What they did, to some people, like they asked for me for ID to send them the ID. Yeah. They wanted to check my name or whatever.
I had that issue too. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So they might ask. So you actually sometimes might have to send them your ID to actually prove that you're a real person, because they're trying to find, go against the situation where people are creating multiple accounts, doing things with them. So you might have to set up an account under your own name. You could use, let's say, if you wanted to use a different name, maybe you could use like a maiden name or your pre-marriage name or something else like that. That could possibly work. But just keep in mind that later down the line, LinkedIn might ask you for ID if you're doing a lot of things. So just keep that in mind.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. And by the way, guys, for those of you like Nick Seth Smith and Evan Siegel, I know you guys just enrolled in that Marketing for Photographers workshop, which I think is going to be absolutely incredible. The last one we did was just a massive success, and we're going to bring on not just Michael Sterling, but also some photography agents that are experts in marketing photographers and and being able to land campaigns and opportunities. But just so you know, both Evan and Nick, that $1,000, the $995 that you've enrolled in, that actually counts towards any additional workshop that you guys do in 2021. So I know each one of you are signed up for like 2 workshops. So if you sign up for a 3rd or a 4th, that's going to count as $995 towards any 4-day workshop as well, just so you guys know. So, which I know you probably will anyway. So, but it's kind of a nice thing that we want to, everything that we do is to try to contribute to developing your portfolio and making sure that you guys are becoming massively successful. So, so that's a big benefit to both you, Evan, and to you, Nick. When you guys go to sign up for your 3rd workshop for 2021, that $995 will count towards it. And that's going to be awesome, because we want to help you guys out. And all of it for us is all about what we can do to bring more value to the table to you guys. And that's why I know we have a ton of photographers on here right now. At least probably close to half of you guys have already attended workshops. or are attending workshops coming up. And I love it that you guys jump on and you get this furthering education, because we're hugely interested, and Chad knows this, Chad Chisholm knows this, because I've worked with him for years now. We're hugely interested in making sure you become successful, because when you become successful, we become successful. When Chad lands big opportunities, like he had that Xanterra campaign, he actually brings me on, as a part of it. When Chad, when photographers like, we had Charles Randolph Warren, who we actually just talked to the other day, Chad, he came is a great story, because he came from, I think, like, he grew up in St. Louis, and he ended up becoming a, he was in a different industry, like in the finance industry, and then was living in South Carolina, and came to me and said, you know what, Kevin, I want to be a top fashion photographer. That's my dream. I want to be a top fashion photographer. And I said, you know what? Awesome. I think that's a great goal, but this is what you're going to need. You're going to need to, build a body of work and get published and get featured. And what's cool is Charles did. After taking 2 workshops and a one-on-one with me, he's now shooting for Dolce & Gabbana in Brazil. He shot for Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, Vogue. He shot for L'Officiel. He shot the Fila campaign. He shot for Lee Jeans. And he has blown up and down in Brazil. It was incredible. And now I actually had another consult, and we stayed in touch because I've been working with him for several years. And I'm now working with him, as well as Daniel Rothschild is working with him, one of our marketing consultants, to essentially take what his success was down in Brazil and translate that to success here in the United States, and land some huge opportunities up here. So I just get really excited, because our success as the photography workshop series, we are the most elite photographic workshop series in the world. Nothing even comes close. But it's because of the success of our photographers, because I don't rest until you guys achieve the greatest images you've ever shot in your lives. And I don't rest until you guys achieve, essentially increase your level of quality and photographic currency, because I'm interested in you guys meeting the vast potential that you have, that you're capable of. And most photographers never meet their potential. And I want to say that, like, so many of you guys have so much raw talent, and you're not reaching your potential because A, you don't have the portfolio, which of course we're here to help you shoot the greatest images of your life with supermodels from Versace campaign, supermodels from Vogue. You guys don't have the connections or the way to, or you don't market yourself properly. Well, that's what we do. We help you connect you with the right connections. Like for instance, at the workshops where we bring in top photography agents, creative directors, art producers from ad agencies, photo editors from magazines. The last masterclass, the one that Nick attended, we had the owner of Flaunt magazine, one of the biggest fashion magazine in California, the celebrity fashion editor of Wonderland magazine, the biggest fashion magazine in England. We had we had the photography agent George Perez Reps, photography agent 46 Pictures. We had all these incredible major panelists, because we're here to, we want to connect you guys and gain success. And we actually had somebody attend that workshop, and he hired to shoot for Wonderland magazine after the workshop, out of England, which is really incredible. So, we're here to make sure that you guys have success. It's extremely important to me personally, and I'm going to do everything it takes in my power to help maximize your potential, because that's absolutely critical for me. So if you guys are interested in attending the marketing workshop, whether you've already enrolled in workshops, you've already signed up and are all set, and you want to, do the marketing workshop to supplement it, and remember that's going to count towards your, your next workshop, your third or fourth workshop, or whatever you guys are attending. Or if you've never taken a workshop before, it can count towards any 4-day experience that's new to sign up for 2021. Then go ahead and click there. And I think that it's an incredible opportunity. We never did this for our last 2 virtual workshops. We never allowed it to contribute towards an actual workshop, but now we are, because it's really important to me to give you guys the opportunity to not only learn the marketing side, but we also want you guys to build and develop that portfolio so you have something in your branding to take it to the next level. That's really, really important to me. All right, so do you guys, if you guys have any other additional questions, I think that, Michael Sterling is an incredible resource here, and he's an absolute guru. So, this is a great time to ask in the Q&A, as far as, anything specific about marketing. And we had a question about Instagram. We had a photographer ask, like, is Instagram dead? Noel Armstrong says, is Instagram marketing really dead? I have been working on Google ad campaigns as well as TikTok. I feel like I'm struggling to get my name out there. Michael, do you have any suggestions for this? It looks like I'm not really sure if Noel is a portrait photographer or not, but what do you suggest as far as is Instagram dead, or what do you say as far as for marketing photography?
I don't think Instagram is dead. I just think that there are ways to utilize the platform. Instagram is now switched onto the model where you might have to invest some actual money to get yourself further on that platform. So you might have to run some ads. You might have to invest in some campaigns to gain more followers or to market to specific people. So it might require some cash outlay, but it's definitely not dead. It's a big platform. It's one of the biggest platforms, in fact. So it's definitely not dead. It's definitely really good for photographers that want to market to consumers rather than businesses. So if you're doing any, portrait or wedding or whatever it is, that's great. Another thing is creative directors will probably go and check you out on the Instagram if you're on there to see what images you shot. And one thing to remind yourself of is that you can reach out to these people and you can utilize the marketing strategies. But if you don't have the portfolio to back yourself up or the images to show to them, it's going to be very hard to actually secure any jobs or get meetings even, because without the work, you first always, make sure your profiles are dialed in, make sure you have great work to show. If you don't have the great work, it's just, it's going to be very, very hard for you guys. So get the great work.
That's a good point.
And then,
Michael, I want to just really pronounce what you just said. You've got to have the work, right, Michael? If you've got the work, and this is something where to market yourself, it comes down to branding. And that's why guys like Chad, we showed his incredible branding. We went to Nick's website and we saw his incredible content. That branding is the cornerstone, and what they created at the workshops was absolutely astounding. And it kind of allowed them to then market themselves at a really, really high level, because without that high-end content, remember, you only have one chance to make that first impression. But for instance, we just shot this at the New York workshop. If you wanted to go after high-end fashion brands, well, this is content that we shot with models from the Versace campaign. It really helps when marketing to Versace, Dior, Louis Vuitton, if you're marketing to Vogue, Vanity Fair, any of those kind of clients, or if you're marketing towards wedding clients or portrait clients or even senior portraits. It makes a big deal having content at this scale with world-class supermodels to show to those consumer clients, because now you'll go back to wherever you're from and you're literally going to be the best photographer, back wherever you are if you've got content like this from New York. So it really makes a huge, huge difference. These are photographed by David Giesbrecht, who's on right now, as well as I think Hans J. Paul had shot one of these. So, incredible content shot in New York, right? But just creating epic content. This was also shot in New York by, I think, Veronica Yankowski. Unbelievable content for New York City Magazine. And it's just this ethereal kind of wedding style of a scene. So anyway, thanks, Michael. I really appreciate that. So what you're saying is that it's really critical to have great content to start with. And then Instagram is kind of moving more to that. You have to buy in financially then a little bit to get yourself out there. Do you see a lot of good results with the ROI on Instagram ads?
Yes, it could work, definitely. Chad just dropped a comment over here saying that he runs ads on Instagram and has had 3 RFPs come from it. So it is working for him. So we should definitely mention that. Yeah.
So Chad, if you don't mind me asking, what was your audience because Instagram is all about targeting your audience to land those 5 RFPs? What was your audience that gave you those opportunities in Instagram? Oh, sorry. I think he's, hold on one second. Let me make sure that you're unmuted. Did that allow you to talk? I don't know why. I never tried muting you. So can you talk now, Chad? There you go.
Okay, there we go. The suspense. So actually what we had visited about in our one-on-one with Kevin was about branding and separating out my two brands so that I had a lifestyle fashion Instagram handle and I have a food and beverage Instagram handle. So they're two very separate, so it doesn't intermingle, it doesn't get convoluted, so that the clients know exactly who they're talking to. And it's not like, well, why am I wanting to book this guy to do lifestyle and I'm looking at food? I do both, but it's very separate in how it's done. So, and it actually was one of my models, Greg Avedon, who suggested me and was like, look at this guy's Instagram. And then, I mean, it just, again, it's all about those personal relationships and whatnot. But it was, one of them was actually a coffee company that wanted to do a lifestyle campaign. So melded both my worlds together very well. They didn't have the budget that they wanted to for right now, but it's I definitely think that Instagram is a tool that if you use it more than just, you know, taking selfies and showing models, it's a great portfolio booster, and it's a great way to connect with a lot of the professionals who are at the workshops too, because they have massive followings as well. I mean, these models we shot, was it Miss America or something? I mean, like, these models.
Yeah. Miss Brazil is the one you were talking about in Miami Beach. Yeah.
And so it's an incredible way to connect with their audiences as well and their clients, and just kind of getting your name in front of it. It's, again, just another great way to bring everybody together and get your name out there. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, this was shot at the workshop Chad attended in Miami Beach. She was Miss Brazil, Natalia, and we'd shot epic content. So yeah, you're right. I mean, these girls have huge audiences, some of them. So when they can start promoting how amazing your content is, it can really build your credibility. 100%. Excellent. Another question for you, Michael Sterling. Somebody's asking about Facebook ads. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what would be a good Facebook ad spend, and what kind of target audience, say if you were a portrait photographer, what would that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So with any advertising, any type of advertising, you will have to test things out. So you will have to have a budget of maybe, I would say, starting with a couple of $1,000s to just test things out. Test different ad sets, different types of ads, different videos that you have, photos, different call to actions. You probably will find that some of your ads work and some of them don't. So in the initial phase of that testing phase, you'll have to actually put some money towards investigating what's working for you and what's not, what images are working, what videos are working, what advertising is working. Maybe you find that you're running Facebook ads, but they're not doing really well, not as well as Instagram ads for you. So then once you find that out, and once you've used up that initial budget and you found out that, you know, Instagram works really well for you, then just double in on what's working. And so in terms of budget, you do have to need, you are going to need a little bit, like you might go somewhere for, I would say, like $20, $30 a day starting, but you will have to ramp up from there, because if you spend, like, let's say, you know, $5 a day on ads, you're not going to get much data. It's all about getting that data about what's working and what's not in advertising, and you know, especially when you're doing paid ads. So same with Facebook, same with Instagram. Facebook has a little bit of an older demographic these days. So if you find that your demographic is a little bit older, maybe like 40 plus, rather than Instagram being more like 20, 30, 40 people maybe. So Instagram is a little bit younger demographic, and TikTok is an even younger demographic, and then Facebook is a little bit older demographic. So it really depends on who you're targeting, where they located, and get very specific. Like the more specific you are with ads, the more likely you're going to succeed. So let's say, you know, same thing for Kevin, when we were running ads, we were finding out that like specific regions work really well, or specific states. You know, he wanted to target specific states, you know, and you know, he wanted to target specific you know, places and cities and stuff like that. So you will have to acquire that data about, like, think about who you want to target, where they located, then use up that initial budget of a couple of thousand to test things out. And then once you find out what's working, just stop everything else and just keep doubling down on what's working.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it, Michael. That's some really good, thoughtful advice. And testing is key. Absolutely. We want to test, and you can test it with small amounts, find out what's working, find out where that ROI is, and then go strong. So we had a bunch of other questions here. We had a good one. Bethany Stolkin. Do you have any workshops or webinars specifically geared towards real estate or architectural photography? Love it that you asked this. So we have a ton of these people that we talk to that do a lot of real estate and architectural. Now, with that, it's a little, if you do want to maybe target some high-end architectural clients, like for instance, Chad had mentioned this. If somebody's selling a multi-million-dollar home, they're going to invest, $20, $30, $40,000 in some of their marketing for this. And what that means is that sometimes they're going to be hiring photographers and videographers to create mind-blowing content, not just of the place, but also telling like a high-end lifestyle story at that fabulous estate. And I think that can be really advantageous. In fact, we're doing that at each and every one of our photographic workshops this year, not just shooting epic photographic content at incredible locations where we're shooting at, 10, 20, $30 million mansions, and also fabulous castles, like in France at a 49-room castle estate. We're shooting at, these unbelievable locations, but we're also shooting high-end fashion and lifestyle production content there. So it's almost like a fashion film or a lifestyle film at that location. Real high-end real estate client agents eat this up. That's what they're doing for the really high-end clients right now. Not only real estate, but also for resorts. I know Chad works a lot in this world. They love like a high-end lifestyle video story at the resort. That's really hot, and they generally have budgets for that. So absolutely, I would say, literally, all of the upcoming workshops, specifically the Newport Beach one, that one's going to be incredible. It's going to be, we're typically at a $10 to $20 million estates in Newport Beach. We have that coming up in February, but it's sold out. Denver, we're going to be doing something like that up at like a log cabin mansion estate in the Colorado area. We've got ones in at all these mansion estates, like the castle I just showed you in New York. Absolutely astounding. Telling stories like that, photographically and video, can help your business. Also, the marketing for photographers workshop that I just talked about, Bethany, that's going to be absolutely key for you. Marketing yourself if you are going towards real estate or architecture. We're going to cover all aspects of photography and how to market it, even landscape, fine art photography, documentary. If you're into shooting National Geographic, if you're into photographing fashion, lifestyle, beauty, glamour, boudoir, weddings, portrait. It really is across the gamut. Now, each different audience is different, so we'll talk about that. But a lot of the concepts are all the same, and we're going to be showing you kind of the secret sauce and giving you some of the strategies of what how we can create this absolute incredible brand and be extremely successful photographers. So, Bethany, I definitely recommend getting involved and also setting up a marketing strategy session with one of our photographic marketing consultants. I think that would be really advantageous to you if you haven't done that. If you haven't set one up already, I think that would be really helpful. So in the chat, you can sign up for the marketing workshop, or at least sign up for a free Calendly marketing session with one of our photographic consultants. And then Mary asks, do we need anything to come prepared with anything for the free portfolio session this week? Great question, Mary. I'm going to answer that. Really all we'd like to see is some of your content. If you've got a website somewhere, if you've got some photography somewhere, and just have a list of kind of like what it is your goals are. That's what we really want to know. What are your goals? Is there a certain numerical goal? Do I want to make, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, $1 million this year? What does it look like to you? What is your target audience? And what are your images? What images do you have ready to go right now? And then we're going to then find out, do those images match what you're trying to achieve? And if they don't, then we need to find a way to develop it, whether it's taking a workshop, whether it's, doing shoots on your own for editorials, whatever it is, but finding a way to develop that brand. And then we need to market to that audience and work with you to essentially maximize your presence out there. But great question. All right. I think we answered most of these great questions. So let's move on to somebody else. I know we've got some really patient photographers on here. The great Evan Siegel. He's I believe you're in Laguna Niguel or Laguna Beach. Evan, I'd like to welcome you. You're an absolute pleasure to work with, Evan. I've been so blessed to work with you, and Evan, I think that it's been really special because I got to work with you at the masterclass, and you just shot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, which is saying a lot. And the content you created is so mind-bending that it's like catapulted you to the next level. So, Evan, talk to me about your experience there. Maybe some of the connections you met that maybe you want to market to, and also, Evan, like how you're going to use those great images to kind of market yourself in 2021.
Well, first, thank you very much, Kevin, for the opportunity to work with you, Sean, Priscilla, and others. It's been a great experience so far. I look forward to several of the workshops this year. The images were really a surprise to me. I've been shooting for a long time, but the setups, the models, the ambiance, the guidance, the fine tuning have all been absolutely a fantastic experience for me. And I'm looking forward for these images, one, to be in my new portfolio, which is what I'm starting to build at this point, and two, to really market them the correct way towards new constituents. I really want to become more public. I've been published before, but more in art type journals and that type of and private shoots. I really want to become more published in the fashion magazines, the lifestyle magazines, et cetera, and get the campaigns that you're talking about. So the experience was absolutely mind-blowing for me every day. And the lifestyle is new for me. And the third day was fully lifestyle. The fourth day was lifestyle. Had a great experience doing it. I learned, and I even learned a few things about my own equipment in terms of what we'll do using lenses that I'm not used to using. I'm normally a long lens person when it comes to shooting people. And this was a lot of shorter lenses and zoom wides, and made a hell of a difference in capturing that immediate lifestyle verve. With the fashion, the first couple of days at or the second and third days at Weiss's, just the idea of having those incredible sets, the styling, the costuming, the hair, makeup, and the models themselves made an enormous difference for me in being able to capture the kind of work I would like to capture. So I want to build my portfolio right now and then really start marketing it heavily. That's my number one interest at this point.
And you mentioned some stuff like you getting published. Are there any certain magazines that you want to, get these images published, and other stories that you want to tell in magazines?
Well, certainly the individuals who we met on the first day, the rep, the flaunt, those kinds of somewhat disparate publications. I'd love to get into them and deal with good reps. I certainly would love to think that sometime I could get into Italian Vogue, French Vogue, and similar publications. And it's going to take hard work and building that portfolio, I think, to make it happen, and some luck along with it. But that's one reason I'm doing these intensive workshops with you folks, because I think I'll be able to capture more and more images of the quality I need.
Absolutely. Yeah. Flaunt, the owner of Flaunt Magazine, was one of the panelists there, Luis Barajas. So pretty incredible to bring the owner of Flaunt Magazine in as a panelist. And I definitely think that some of the content we shot on the fashion days is very appropriate for what they're looking for that edgy. And we've been published in Flaunt before from prior workshops. So it's really incredible. And I mean, some of this content is so spectacular. When you have models like Valena from Vogue, it really takes it up a notch. And just incredible work. Beautiful storytelling, spectacular lighting, production, and set. So going forward, Evan, I would like to, I know you and I, and this is what we do after every single workshop, we actually sit down, you sit down and actually go through your imagery with our team. And we help you select the best creme de la creme images, the ones that you want to market. And then we're going to also coach you in where to market it too. So some of these images, I think that, the ones we selected as the best ones for you to retouch, we want you to then market these to magazines like Flaunt, like Wonderland, like WWD, like ID, like Vogue, and all the different Vogues, because there's, Vogue America is going to be the hardest one, Vogue America and French Vogue and Italian Vogue. But outside of that, whether it's Vogue Mexico, Vogue Tokyo, Vogue Arabia, there's Vogues all over the world, and they're not as difficult to get into as far as getting published. It's still hard, but it's definitely a different threshold, and it's great to kind of start off there. So I think that marketing to some of those high tier publications is going to be great. Images like this, I mean, this is just, to me, straight out of French Vogue. This is spectacular. This is ready to go, and needs very little post-production on this. But spectacular, Evan. So, and then creating what we call like promotional pieces. I think that's going to be your next step, so that you can send it out both in email version and a printed version. And I want to work with you on that. I personally like a 6x11 size, because it's the largest piece of mail that you can mail that's still of standard postage. So instead of it, if it's bigger than 6x11, then it ends up being double the price of postage. So that's the size that I like. So it's a nice big size. And we worked with one of your colleagues here, Hans J. Paul, who's attended 5 of the last workshops, and of developing his print promos, and they look really, really incredible. So I think that, we'd love to, and usually what those entail is like in one image on the front, like an iconic image like the one we're looking at. And then on the other side, your name, address, contact information, and then like maybe a spread of another like 3 to 4 images. And I would develop one print promo for fashion and one print promo for lifestyle. I think that would be key. So Evan, as far as, what you experienced at the workshop, was there something that you kind of took away that you're just like, oh my gosh, like this really changed my outlook and perception in photography?
Well, I could just say the usual, where do I begin? There were so many things. For one thing, I've been shooting for a long time, and I've shot some good models, but these were of a completely different category. And realizing that I could concentrate even more on issues such as fine-tuning the positioning, my positioning, lighting, angles, without worrying about the models being of high enough caliber to pose, taking easy direction. When a model takes direction easily, you can concentrate on excellence in the images more. And that was one of the things I took away from the workshop every single day. The models were stupendous each day, despite the differences in genre. And it made it easier for me to capture images that I really wanted to take away. So that was one thing. The second thing was that the setting and the styling, the hair, the makeup, the horses, the water, everything harmonized so that one element was not a detriment against the other elements. Therefore, when you have a production of this kind, and of course the production was you guys, the ability to capture images was heightened. So for me, recognizing that a great production allows you to capture images using your own photographic skills in an even better and more consistent manner was another takeaway. So those were the 2 main takeaways, I think. I love it. And be able to shoot with a production with horses racing across the water. I mean, creating content like this, I mean, this is mystifying. This is the scale of this production. This is what Michael Sterling is talking about. This is the kind of stuff, it all starts here. This is what it starts with right here. And when you have content like that for your promo piece, or something that you're going to send out on LinkedIn, people have a very different perception of you, Evan. Now it's like, oh my gosh, Evan, it looks like you just shot for French Vogue. That's the perception now. And it's because of that scale. And also it's the nuances. You did an amazing job here, but this is something that, a guy like Michael can like market the heck out of, because this is something that it's so over the top. It's so spectacular. And I'm really proud of you for creating content like this. And then shooting, of course, the scale of this with horses, with parachutes and everything like that. It's creating impact. And when we're doing marketing, it's really important to have images with impact.
It's not every day somebody sees, you know, a model racing across the water actually during a production. And by the way, this is our model / production coordinator, Priscilla Evans, who's actually on right now. She'll be talking as well. And she's a professional horse rider and horse jumper, and was, you know, taking the horse and racing it across the water. So to be able to do that, that's something that has a lot of impact in your portfolio. And people look for stuff like this because it's like, oh my gosh, that has impact. That's pretty incredible. And these are just straight out of camera, incredible images. But really proud of you. This is some breathtaking content that you created, Evan.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I again, you know, you guys did a wonderful job and allowed me to shoot more easily than if I did not have that level of production, of models, of all the other things that I mentioned earlier. I'm very honored to be able to do it in a continuing fashion, as well as have been able to do it in that workshop.
Absolutely. Well, it was a blast having you, and I had so much fun. And we try to like come up with something crazy and new, and we try to come up with new content each time. And also we try to outdo ourselves. I don't know how we're going to outdo that, shooting with horses racing across the water with parachutes, but we try every time, and we create content. And that's why we've had photographers that have been taking our workshops for, you know, 7-8 years, and they're still coming back because they're becoming more and more incredible. And the success of our photographers, I mean, we have a 95% re-enrollment rate, which is higher than any other company that I'm aware of in the world. As far as 95% of our photographers don't just take one, they take 2, 3, 4, sometimes 10 workshops, because it's almost like a drug. You show up and you're just like, oh my gosh, this content's so incredible. And then you go back to try to recreate it. And unless you have a client that's got a $100,000 budget, it's going to be really hard to get that kind of scale of production. Where do you even begin? And that's one of the great benefits of what we have at these incredible experiences. Okay, so I'd love for us to bring on one of my young photographers. We've actually been talking to a lot of our really experienced photographers, but Charles Benoit, if you want to jump on, I don't get enough chances to work with young photographers, but Charles, I'm really excited about you personally, because you're a young guy. He's in his early 20s, just finished college, and he lives in Michigan, which is where I'm from. I'm a Michigan guy myself, so I'm a Midwest boy. I grew up in a village of 2,000 people, you know, from rural West Michigan, and I moved to California, did my bachelor's, my MFA in photography. Charles grew up in Michigan, and he is really eager and excited to take his career to the next level. And Charles attended our Chicago workshop. He attended our Chicago workshop on fashion and lifestyle photography. And he created the greatest images he's ever shot in his life. And it's really catapulted him. And now he's busy, and he's actually doing photo shoots all the time. So Charles, I'd love to introduce you. And also, I want to work with you personally, because I want to talk about kind of what your target audience is and what we can do to achieve that target audience for you to start booking jobs. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, about kind of what your goals are, Charles, and also maybe talk a little bit about your experience at the workshop, and, you know, the images you created and what that felt like.
Okay. Hey, Kevin, how are you? It's good to be on. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, the workshop was an incredible experience for me. I absolutely shot the best images of my life I've ever had. As 22 coming straight out of college, it was like a kid in a candy store to be able to shoot with the level of production that we had, and the models who were able to take incredible direction. That was one thing I learned best from Kevin, was direction, working with the energy of the models. All of that was stunning. Yeah, but once I learned from that workshop, when I came back and started doing some fashion work, and that's where I'd like to take my career once I get to LA. I'm in the process of moving and relaunching my whole brand once I move to a new city, working with fashion. But yeah, once I came back to Michigan, I had some of the best work around, and just shooting it constantly.
Excellent, excellent. So you're now the best photographer in Michigan. How do you feel?
I feel amazing.
Because I tell you what, I grew up and I was young, and I started my photography business when I was like, I think 18, when I was in Michigan, and I started shooting senior pictures, and I started shooting weddings and selling fine art to galleries and private collectors, and I was hustling. I did my bachelor's degree in photography, and then my master's of fine arts in photography. And for me, like, I looked around and I was looking at these photographers that I thought were successful. But now I look back and I look at the photographers in Michigan, and most of them are, it's such a lower level than what we're creating like in Los Angeles and New York. And that's the beautiful thing, is that if you can come and take images like what we're seeing right here, this was all shot at the Chicago workshop, and then you come back to Michigan, it blows away everybody else in Michigan. And it actually gives you the opportunity to actually catapult yourself to the LA level, to the New York level, which you're doing. I know you're moving to LA now because now you've got this baseline portfolio, and it kind of gives you that gravitas that you can just hit the ground running. So I'm excited for you. So Charles, first of all, what's your target audience for your clients going forward in 2021 that you want to market to?
So really fashion. I'd love to do some like more lifestyle stuff with like Levi's, stuff like that, bigger brands like that. Just bringing up my level from shooting mostly around here with local talent, but I'd love to push it up to doing more lifestyle campaigns like Free People, stuff like that would be really where I'd love to see my work. Just like you were talking earlier about promoting to Vogues that are off of America, getting myself published, getting my work out there, and then eventually working my way up to shooting in Vogue, Harper Bazaar, stuff like that.
Excellent. And by the way, these are some of the images. I think David Gasprecht shot this one at that same workshop with you. So I mean, it was incredible content. This was like straight out of a Free People campaign. Unbelievable content we shot and lifestyle. So you want to do high-end fashion magazines, fashion advertising, lifestyle advertising campaigns. You mentioned some great brands there. Okay, so what we need to do then is we need to further the lifestyle body of work, right? Because you've got one day of lifestyle. I think you had basically 3 days of fashion. That was all like that vintage fashion story, like you saw here. So we've got this epic fashion body of work. We got this start to a lifestyle body of work. So we need to complete that. We need to have a 40 image cohesive body of work of each. And right now, I'm guessing you probably have about maybe 20 really solid images of fashion and maybe like 8 really solid images of lifestyle that are independent, because you can't repeat the same image from the same scene. It has to be one image per scene per look, right? So so that's going to be really key. So like, for instance, you look at these images, every single image has a different outfit, right? Every single image has is a different sequence. Even these images where you're using the car, the models are wearing different outfits, right? So that's really important to have a cohesive body of work. So I think that we can market you. We need to work on targeting magazines. We need to work on contacting fashion designers. And I think for young photographers starting off, it'd be great to get you in, Charles, shooting lookbooks for designers. And I think that that's really key. That's one thing that I did when I was really young. I started just shooting lookbooks, and you can make $10,000 to $30,000 a lookbook, and they need a lookbook shot every quarter. And that's great. So if you can get a few of those clients, if you're doing $30,000 a job, maybe you're profiting 20,000 of that, and you do it 4 times a year for one client, that's not bad. You might be making 80 grand off of that one client per year, and it's regular, and it's usually just like a 2-day shoot. And you get like 4 of those clients and you're set. And that'll give you the opportunity to go after the bigger jobs, the big fashion advertising campaigns. So I'd start marketing towards fashion lookbooks, because every designer needs a lookbook shot. I'd recommend going after fashion magazines to build your credibility and get published. And then also going after advertising campaigns with the lifestyle body of work, which you need to build more of, but getting that whole lifestyle advertising body of work, because LA is full of ad agencies, and they're all in like the El Segundo area, which is right next to my house. You need to be meeting with those people all the time once COVID lifts. And in the meantime, maybe setting up Zoom calls and trying to get in touch with them. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, one benefit, Charles, is that a lot of the art directors are really young. So a lot of the people you're actually going to be talking to are your age. So that's actually, they like fresh people. They do. They don't always go with the older photographers. Sometimes they'll go with young, fresh photographers for the smaller jobs. And then they kind of build a relationship with you. And then they go with the more established photographers, sometimes with the bigger jobs, but at least it gets your foot in the door. So let's work together on that, Charles. I'm excited for you. Was there a certain scene or sequence that you shot in Chicago that just completely blew your mind?
I would have to say the car. Yeah, that really blew my mind there when we were working with the models. They were just so wonderful to pose and work with the beautiful piece of machinery. It was just a wonderful day. And then when we came back up from the basement to get that sunset on the back of the car on that image in the top right there, just blew my mind.
Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent. Cool. All right, guys. And make sure, and guys, if you guys do want to learn more about this, about marketing and everything, go ahead and, set up a free consult with one of our strategists. If you want to get involved with one of our intensive, it's going to be like a 6-hour intensive on marketing for photographers, and we can design one-on-one a strategy plan for you and with you. I would highly recommend doing that. And if you've already enrolled in a workshop and you want to, in this enrollment, you're basically getting $300 off, and it applies towards the next workshop you enroll in. So if you've already enrolled in one, it'll actually be $995 off of a future one. And if you've never enrolled one at all, that's a huge benefit. So if you're new to us, it's a great way to kind of get your foot in the door, do one of these epic marketing workshops, and then use that to apply towards your future workshops, because we really want you to build a body of work like Charles has, like Nick has, like Chad has, like Evan has, because it's catapulted them to the next level. And the marketing is important, but you've got to have the branding in the portfolio to start with. That's absolutely critical. We talked about some of these components. We've got to have the branding in the portfolio. We need the marketing, and we need the persistence and follow-up. That's absolutely key and critical. Some of the things that Michael had talked about. All right, guys. So make sure to in the chat. We've got some of these the links there, and I recommend, if you guys haven't done it, make sure to click on those links. Those are pretty important there. If you guys have any additional questions, I'd love to hear them too. So we had some great questions about Facebook, about Instagram advertising, about marketing and stuff. And I love doing this because I want to curate this to you guys, to what you guys are actually looking for. So I'd like to bring on Priscilla Evans. She is actually the beautiful model, one of the models you saw actually riding the horse. And also she's a production coordinator and works with us. Priscilla, you had some really great things to say about presentation and about self-branding. And I think that this is really important. It's something I haven't really talked about yet, but I'd really like you to talk about it, because I think that it's something that you've been noticing a lot with our photographers, and I think it's really, really critical to essentially self-brand. So Priscilla, you're from Australia. You're a production coordinator with me, and also a model as well, and professional horse rider and stuff. But can you talk a little bit about some of that self-branding and how you think it's going to essentially benefit you, to basically present yourself in the best light?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think if we're going to all this effort to brand ourselves and to market ourselves online, and we're creating these fabulous websites, these amazing, profiles on social, it's got to carry through when you have that first meeting over Zoom. So, I've probably talked to maybe 30 photographers this week alone, and there's been some really common, errors that have come up, and they're so easy to fix, but they really do shape the way and the perception that is built in that first meeting. And you only get a first one chance to make a first impression. So I've actually made a bit of a list here. So if you want to get ready to write these down, I think everyone should check this off and actually check in with themselves. How are you actually presenting yourself on Zoom, and how well are you making that first impression? Because also remember that Zoom, unlike going in person and actually traveling, well, obviously we can save our time on traveling, which is great. We can fit more people in, but it can also be recorded. So you want to make sure that if they are going to play that video back and they're going to check any of those little answers or things you said, that you're only giving them the best presentation of yourself. So first of all, lighting. So at the photography workshop series, our team, we all use ring lights. So ring lights, I'm going to show you mine now. So we love them. So big ring lights like this. This is great because if you're doing a meeting at nighttime, you're always going to have amazing, natural looking, even light. And although, it's great in the daytime to have a window to position yourself right up against you, doesn't always work in our schedules. So ring lights are great. Backgrounds as well. I'd be probably avoiding, we've seen a mix of backgrounds on the webinar today, and we've seen some of those false backgrounds as well, where you can put a green screen type effect and put one of your favorite photos up there. They can be good and bad. Hit and miss with those. Sometimes they end up being a little bit blurry and fuzzy, and you look more like a head hovering there, and that can be a little bit distracting. But also remember that as photographers, we form attachments to our photos. So sometimes that image, that one amazing shot that you think is the best and greatest, may not necessarily be what the person, the creative director or the agent that you're talking to loves. So I think that it's safer, depending on who you're talking to go with a neutral background. And also, you know, if you're traveling, if you're doing anything like that, a nice clean presentation, a nice clean background, generally always, you know, is going to have the safest results. Also, where you position your camera, the amount of times that I get on Zoom with a photographer and I get a nice study of the insides of their nostrils, or like looking up and I'm only seeing their eyes. So just be aware of that, you know, be aware of what device you're on. I wouldn't be getting on Zoom on your phone if you can avoid it, just because, you know, a computer, a nice, you know, a screen to work with, if you're going to be showing them your websites and all of your marketing material, it's a lot easier to share your screen and do that with a laptop or like a larger device. So always do a test run, check your audio, check your camera quality as well. Sometimes you might not realize, but I'm actually hearing your kids crying in the background. I'm hearing the dog, I'm hearing all that noise in the next room. And I think it can be really good to do a test run, especially, you know, during COVID, we're working from home. You never know what the other person is actually hearing. What you wear, remember that it's still a professional meeting. So get yourself in the headspace and the mindset that it's actually an interview, and try to avoid coming in with, you know, pajamas on or a really messy background. Clean that up and make yourself feel like you're there and it's actually happening in person. And I think as well on the, you know, same line there, what you talk about. Be careful of, you know, the personal life creeping in, that you're busy and, you know, this has happened, that's happened, it's held you back. Be careful of that, particularly with the fact that, you know, Zoom can be recorded. And I think, you know, with COVID, be careful of the negative COVID chat. I hear that a lot, that you haven't done much because of COVID. We're all in the same boat. We understand COVID's affected everyone, but be careful of that, because there are photographers that have been shooting during COVID, and you also want to give the perception that you're among the best. So sounding that you're busy, it hasn't stopped you. You know, you're still working with your clientele is, I think, a far better impression to leave them with. And I think as well, allowing extra time. You know, I get along with or get on with some photographers, and sometimes like they'll end the call with, I'm running late, I got to go. And I might be in the middle of, you know, adding value to them. And I know that they want to receive more information and get the most out of it, but always allowing extra time if you can, because any other reason to get off means that you're not prioritizing your photography, and that's not the most important thing to you. So, you know, add Zoom into your call scripts. If you're calling agents and you're calling decision makers, add it in at the end, and you know, assumptively ask those people. I think it's socially acceptable to do that now, to say, you know, you're on a call with them, oh, hey, like, you know what, I'd actually rather show you this over Zoom. I'm going to send you a link right now to your email. Have a link ready before you get on the phone. Be dressed before you get on the phone with them, and send that link through, and you know, get on with them. And the worst they're going to say is, hey, now doesn't work for me. Can we make it 2 hours time? And either way, you're still winning. So, you know, add it into your call scripts. Get familiar with Zoom, because it's going to save you so much time. I think it's going to stay around for a really long time going forward, even post, you know, vaccines and all the rest of the wrap up with COVID that will eventually happen. And it's going to open up so many new opportunities for all our photographers out there. So, you know, take the opportunity to connect with even more decision makers in the most professional way in 2021.
Wow. Well, that was incredible advice. I actually really appreciate everything Priscilla's saying. And, you know, you touched on a few things. I mean, I love, Priscilla, the fact that you brought up your presentation, your self-presentation. For God's sakes, you guys are all photographers. If you don't light yourselves correctly, like, come on, like, how do you ever expect any client to ever take you seriously? Okay. So I strongly recommend it. Now, I really love, Priscilla, what you talked about with the floating screens. Typically, I wouldn't ever put a background image up there unless it's something that's just so iconic. I would say the only exception I've seen in the last 3 months is probably Nick's image. Nick, I actually really like that background. Doesn't bother me, doesn't distract me. I like how the model's set off to your head, so it's not you're not like blocking it. It actually works. But other than that, I would say, you know, 90% of the time, don't ever do that. Just have a nice clean background. Even me, like I was debating having like a painting behind me. But even that to me is distracting. I want it to be about my engagement and my face. And I want you guys to really present yourself, but make sure you're lighting yourself properly. And I recommend not just a lamp, get an actual light. And I ring lights, they're not expensive. They're like $100. And they're beautiful. You can even put, your computer right up to it or your phone right in the middle of it. And it creates a beautiful ring on your eyes. So, it has a really nice effect. And I really like the look and feel. And what Priscilla is talking about is keeping it about, your personality and building that relationship. So I love that, Priscilla. Thank you so much. That was some incredible advice. Now, I'd like to bring on the great Daniel Rothschild. He coaches a lot of our photographers on business. I know he's worked with Nick pretty extensively, as well as Charles Benoit, these photographers that are on. And Dan, I'd like to you to talk about kind of you mentioned some to me earlier about like kind of the psychology of marketing and getting yourself out there. And I think that that's really important because a lot of photographers just maybe they don't really feel like they bring enough value. They don't really see themselves shooting for Vogue or shooting advertising campaigns or shooting the $10,000 weddings. And they're kind of in a mindset of shooting a $2,000 wedding or something. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of how that pertains, Dan, to marketing photography in 2021? Oh, and hold on, you're muted. Here, well, we get your audio back on. There you go.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, Happy New Year. Happy great New Year 2021 to everybody. It's going to be a great year for everyone. Everybody that has gone over information today, from Kevin to Michael to Chad, Charles, Evan, Nick, Priscilla, they've mentioned such fantastic things. And I'm going to go to the very beginning. And it's real simple, and it's needed to do your marketing and to be successful. And that is psychologically, you have to make up your mind and make the decision you're going to bypass previous maybe fears or dislikes of doing marketing. It's a common note with photographers. Marketing in the business side normally is the lesser interest, but without that, you're just really photographing for yourself for the art's sake. So you really have to sit down and have a talk with yourself and decide, you know what, I'm going to want and do marketing and get motivated about it. So the first major step is making that decision that not only do you want to do, be a marketing success, but that you're going to do the work and put in the time that it takes to accomplish the success of marketing, which makes more money for you, gets your name out there, builds the brand, and accomplishes all the things you want from your photography. You can do it simply. You don't have to do it for, all day, every day. You start off small, and I can coach you and guide you on that, and all of our team members can. You start off small and you do it in a way that's comfortable, but first, mentally, decide you're going to do what it takes to be successful financially and business-wise for your photography business. And also decide and make a decision, write down what you want to accomplish, your goal, a business plan. Write it down so physically, by writing it or typing it, you put it into molecules. And you start the process of your brain working on it. Your brain's the computer that is going to make that happen. So put it in print, your goal, put all the limitations to the sidelines. Believe and know you can accomplish any and all of it. Put it in print. And then, piece by piece, you can start. Make sure you're going to do your calling each week, emailing, LinkedIn, mail out promos, consistently call back the same person, and have consistency every week. It's easy. I can guide you, and any of us can guide you on, a simple program to start with. So every day it's a little bit. So to you, it'll be like, oh, this is easy. This feels good. And then if you get success and some responses from it, you add a little bit more because you're liking it, you're motivated. So you build a habit. So consistency, repetition, weekly, habit development on both the just doing the marketing and also on going after that goal you want. And somebody mentioned that it didn't just, I think it was Chad mentioned, it didn't just happen, in a day or a week. It took 3 years it was with the Broadmoor, it took 3 years to finally get in. So this is, I think, one of the most important beginning points that supports everything else that has been said by everybody. There we go. Happy New Year. Let's make it great. Let us know, contact us. We can help you make your photographic business successful.
Love it, Dan. And you know what? I love to hear that. And is there anything that you see as that kind of holds photographers back from booking more jobs? Is there anything that you see particularly that you think the photographers really need to work on?
Two things, and I referenced it. And one is the belief. Any and all of it you can do, but you have to believe that you can. You have to. A lot of photographers don't. They have a kind of a, if I can just say it, a self-esteem challenge. They see like the work. And before you go to a workshop, the first workshop's always the toughest because you haven't been there and you don't know all the great things that everyone has been speaking about of what they experience at the workshop. But you have to believe that you can reach your goal. That's number one. And the other thing is the discipline of following a business plan weekly and daily, and to stay focused on it as the anchor and the map, because we're all humans and we get distracted by squirrel. Oh, what's over there? Oh, I got a phone call from so and so. You're all, human nature is we're all over. And look, the IQ points don't help that. So it's really staying focused and believing in yourself and staying focused on a listed process are the two things that I think our photographers struggle with more than anything.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that the thing that I have to just chant in here is the biggest thing that I see is the photographers are freaking lazy. Photographers in general are some of the laziest people. And they think that they're not. They think that they're busy doing busy work, which is they think that doing just busy, just feeling busy and being on retouching and doing things that don't really matter, that's not really helping you. What helps you is marketing and sales. To be a successful photographer, like myself, I've always spent about 90% of my time on marketing and sales and about 10% of my time actually doing photography. And if you guys don't do that and you think that being a successful photographer is doing photography 90% of the time and marketing 10% of the time, you'll never be successful. Just period in this day and age. It just isn't that. Even the most successful and famous photographers, it wasn't like they just got to do that immediately. They hustled like crazy in the beginning to get to the very, very top. You guys need to focus most of your time and energy and money on marketing and sales, and that's everything. And you can't just be lazy and rest on your laurels or rest on being word of mouth or whatever. It doesn't work that way anymore. Not in 2021. We got to hustle. We got to connect with people. We got to directly contact them constantly. We have to be in touch with them, and we have to get them set up to book you as a photographer. And because there's a lot of competition out there, but I'm going to be teaching you, and guys, and this is why I encourage you guys to come to one of these marketing workshops, because I'm going to show you the tricks of the trade of how to kind of cut through the mess and be there at the highest level to be able to actually book the jobs that you want to do and make more money. So you can essentially make more and work less and spend your time doing the marketing that's going to pay off rather than doing busy work. So the last panelist I want to bring on is a great Sean Ashanti. Now, Sean is incredible. He not only is an expert with marketing and business strategies for photographers, but Sean also works with a lot of videographers, and he's a videographer himself and photographer himself. So Sean comes with a lot of experience. He lives in New York, and he's an incredible asset to the team. Sean, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about kind of what you see and how photographers could improve their marketing in 2021. what is like not working for them and what you think is going to work for them.
Okay, everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So really it boils down to this. When it comes to photographers and their marketing, the thing that holds them back the most is marketing, actually doing the marketing. You need to do your marketing. Don't procrastinate. People, you know why people procrastinate? People procrastinate because they don't believe in the value of what they're doing. They don't think that's going to pay off. But if you're a great photographer, you can be the best photographer in the world. In the world. You can be, I mean, look, they could, best photographer in the world, but if nobody sees your work, if you don't market your work, if you don't try to sell your work, sell yourself even, then you're not going anywhere. You're just not. And, you know, and I look at it like this. And, you know, between film, photography, anything. I worked as a real estate broker in New York City. That's some of the hardest sales you could probably ever do. But the thing is, it didn't matter. I could be selling a $15 million penthouse. If I didn't market that penthouse, I could be selling that penthouse for $100. It ain't going to go anywhere because it has to be marketed. It has to be marketed. You need to be marketed, and your photography has to be marketed. So this is what it really boils down to. So you got to think about what marketing does for you as a business. And that gets clients into the door so you can sell them, so you can earn for you, your family, you know, live that fantastic photographer's dream of being a sustained creative and not be begging for, you know, people, oh man, you know, these kids are undercutting me and I'm, you know, doing $300 shoots, $200 shoots, $400 shoots, doing $1,000 weddings. You don't want to be that person. And the difference is all in the marketing and how you present yourself. Now, granted, in order to market yourself and get and earn those big bucks, you definitely have to have a portfolio that speaks to that level that you want to earn. That's 100% the case. So when you think about your marketing, you got to think, okay, what do I need? Yes, I need to have a good marketing strategy. Absolutely. I do need to literally think when I say KPIs, okay, key performance indicators. You know, you got to think about where you're spending your money for your marketing, what's working. Kind of like Sterling said, you know, you test things out, see what's working where, and don't get disenchanted. That's the number one thing. A lot of photographers get disenchanted because also they'll think to themselves like, you know, oh, heck, they might even think to themselves, oh man, you know, Kevin's stuff is so good. How am I going to get, if there's people like Kevin out there doing this great work, how am I going to get this work? Everybody don't like Kevin. Everybody don't like me. But the most important thing is that there's always opportunity because Kevin gets booked. You know, Kevin does this and he works on these huge campaigns. And there is a door, there is a window of opportunity if you stay top of mind. And that's really the trick, honestly, being top of mind. Because I'll tell you this, and even though I joked and said, people don't like Kevin, people love Kevin. You know, maybe not, I'm just kidding. Everybody loves Kevin. But the thing is that you got to be top of mind because there was a guy that, you know, I could have swore he thought that I was a schmuck because I was top of mind. Every once in a while, you know, throw a little something, market it, you know. He sees me posting content, painting myself as a expert in my field, whether it's from pictures or in my case, films or video. As long as I am constantly marketing and showing that I am active, to touch on what Priscilla said, you want to seem like you're active. You want to be active, okay? But the best way to seem active, be active is, well, of course, mind your business, market, but you also need a body of work that you can pull from. In the case that you do have a lull, you need to build that body of work. You need to build those 30, like say if you come to one of our workshops, you get 30 to 40 images, amazing images, but you know, that's the top selections. You'll have like 6 hours of hands-on shooting 3 days of the week. And you'll actually have more than that because on our first day, we shoot as well, you know, including the epic business essentials where we'll talk about this and everything else that you need in order to get your photographic career in order. So I'm just saying that a photographer's worst enemy is procrastination, not believing in themselves, kind of like how Dan was saying, and really just being lazy. Don't be lazy. Honestly, because each and every one of you can get to that next level. Each and every one of you, whether you believe you're a great photographer or not, if you market yourself properly and you believe in yourself and you generally come to people as a genuine, likable person that knows the craft, you can get the jobs. And not the $500 jobs, not the $1,000 jobs, the $10,000 jobs, the $20,000. I'm talking low end right now. $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 jobs. We've seen it happen. People on the panel. It's happening with some of the folks on the panel. So I mean, I'm ranting. But please take your photography seriously. You can get there. You will get there, but you have to put in the work.
I love it.
I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it, Sean. I mean, and I think that putting in the work is everything, and having the right branding to showcase. So you guys, it's all about that right branding that we can develop. And that's why our photographers, we created this last one last year at the Elite Masterclass, and then Adam Friedman, who attended it, ended up winning the #1 Fashion Photographer of the Year award. Well, that's a big deal. To win #1 fashion photographer of the year over like guys like Stan Musialik and Cesar Lima, some of the most famous fashion photographers. So like, that's incredible. And having that branding and then marketing the heck out of your content and being persistent and following up. Now, if you guys want even more detailed information on this and you want to get in depth about how to do it with Facebook, with Instagram, with LinkedIn, with Twitter, with email marketing, print promos, and then also what to say with phone follow-ups and stuff. We're going to get really in-depth with this, so it's going to be a lot of fun at the Marketing for Photographers workshop. So I'd recommend doing that. We also go over this on day 1 of our workshops. Every day 1 of a photographic workshop, we get pretty intensive on the business side of it. We bring in expert panelists like photography agents, creative directors and art buyers from ad agencies, photo editors from magazines, and you're going to be shooting on day 1 as well. And then we're going to be shooting massive scale production from a $60,000 to $100,000 a day production on each massive scale fashion and lifestyle photography shoot day. So whether you're coming to, we've got an epic workshop coming up in Newport Beach, which is completely sold out. We've got one coming up in Denver. I think there's only like 1 spot left, but it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Winter Wonderland. We only do this one like once every 5 years. And then we have some incredible experiences in Miami Beach, which Miami is always mind-blowing because we work with these, absolutely incredible supermodels from Sports Illustrated. Chad was talking about the girl from like Miss Brazil. And then we have experiences. We've got Napa Valley, which is going to be on wedding and portrait photography, which is going to be pretty spectacular. And then we've got, that's very specific to wedding photographers. We have our Las Vegas fashion workshop, which is going to be in cracked earth in the desert outside of Las Vegas, shooting epic fashion stories out there with big flowing dresses. And then we've got our Chicago workshop which Charles had talked about, shooting with an epic vintage story that we're going to be doing there. We're going to be doing something completely different this time, but it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing, both fashion and lifestyle. And that one's in June. And then New York, which always follows New York Fashion Week, and we schedule it very specifically. So we have all the biggest supermodels in town shooting unbelievable in-studio and on-location photography. And then the Elite Masterclass. And of course, this one is the most over-the-top, the most elegant, the most ridiculous and high-end photographic workshop we do each year. It's a scale of about $100,000 a day production, and every single year it gets published in like at least 3 or 4 magazines. So that's really going to be over the top as far as production, and usually recommend you take at least 1 to 2 main section workshops before attending the Elite Masterclass. And then if you guys are interested, we have a really special experience called the French Castle Experience. And this is shooting with supermodels from Paris at a 49-room castle in France that is going to be a complete mind-blowing experience where you spend all 5 days at this location. Includes the entire stay at this spectacular grade 1 castle that's built in the 13th century. And it's unbelievable. We have like Michelin star chefs. We've got masseuse on premise. We've got there's like 2 wine cellars, a dungeon. It's on 12 acres. and all kinds of like Roman ruins and Celtic ruins actually on the site. So it's a really incredible location, and we're going to be putting together a massive scale like Renaissance and Baroque era period fashion editorial at the highest level. So if you guys are interested, that's happening in August. We've got 2 sections for that. So anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks you guys. I know this has been one of the longer webinars, but we had so much information. We have all these incredible photographers, production coordinators, marketing experts, all throwing in some incredible ideas and really generous guidance to you guys to make 2021 the greatest year yet. And I want you guys to follow a lot of the strategies that we talked about today. Get your LinkedIn profile in order, get your Facebook branded properly, get your Instagram solid, make sure it's not just selfies, but it's actually your content. Start building an epic branded body of work to each category, and start your marketing process. And we're here to help you. So if you guys want to set up a marketing consult, click the link in the chat here. If you want to get more in depth about marketing and take our epic marketing for photography workshop, which is going to be on February 27th, where it's going to be a 6-hour intensive, all on Zoom. It's all virtually, and it's going to be intensive, and you'll walk out of there with a whole new perception and your whole new marketing strategy going forward for 2021. And we'll work personally with you to develop your own marketing strategy. So it's going to be pretty incredible. So anyway, so go ahead and click on that link to sign up. And if you do by the end of this webinar, you get a $300 discount off of it. Otherwise, it's going to be $1,295. But you've got a discount right now, so it's only $995 if you sign up. And you can allocate it towards any future sign up of a 4-day workshop experience. So it's a win-win. So go ahead and click on that, guys. I can't wait to see you guys absolutely just rock it in 2021 and maximize your potential and take your photography to the highest level. Take care, and I can't wait to see you soon.